response in his budget reply. Thank you.
Member Evo Torao.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Maybe first time we talk to him. Thank you, Mr. From Finance. No, any down the supplementary budget of floor Parliament. Me agree long end. For example, long pika siya concerning the budget long police. 600,000. That's why pika in abron change him the too. Suppose that's why pika you think long change him within the weekend. Nothing by me too. Me much long. Talk here so natural budget yeah. All right. Now something me talk to. This actually the government or minister. Much assuring me too. You talk right long, let's say 1 million. Like next year, where each constituency members, Boli Kishim. Now suppose you don't talk right long and now you let's say budget long, 2024 too, and by me block him. Because me angry yet. Yeah. So I need the assurance. That's the condition. I'm prepared to support this budget. Well, that's what. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Me looking all two plan members only talk finish. You got some plan members that talk like talk again. Members who have not spoken. The 3 members who are standing have already spoken. Me calling member blow. Taunita Tio.
All right, thank you to Mr. Speaker. Firstly, me like to thank you, long Minister of Money, Finance. Just look at me overnight. Me look long this budget, the framework. One is something I'm stable here, and you're right. But time me better look. There are some things where look. Some of the projects were coming inside. There were the past projects where last years were being brought forward. So, this can pass in once the appropriate budget being planned, it must come up. This player and must come up. Now, no can roll in go next year and assembly time, and by lose thing long end. So some of this and me looking and come up also. Also here, one time talk long president and been talking lo paying all get a service provider once and for all. Me look that 1 million and leak to mass. Because suppose now you need giving this, you need approving this 1 million. By next year, you know, like looking again, na black and send something and you appear again. So one time this plus statement president been given, have you total up all the outstanding and it accumulate to 1 million. If it is 1 million, then it is good. But suppose any exceeding 1 million, then something has to be done because with a statement once and for all, and it must come up before you pass in this budget. The other thing we look here, long this budget, supplementary budget, the other thing no one belt to mass long and this allocation belong all police social nabla colleague member talk long if I been look adjusting iguanta because in order long any investors or stability and peace long people the community we have to adjust not considering prioritizing police law and order many been up in money mark law iguan top. One time this plan, Mr. Speaker, the budget, any law framework, as I have said, and you're right. But also na play talk if I been give a chance, na give me plan and play look before you come. I think today, but we plan up passing this budget. But it's a short time. You just gave us yesterday overnight. We should have looked at it a day before we can debate. That's why you need to come up one time all this argument. You come one time. With that, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You got all Narapla members, honorable members, only no talk, usati like contribute. Honorable member belong paid.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It will be like me observe na me by this time, Mr. Speaker, you suppose long by this time now you have him all member you like some thing long all. By this time now you all member you should have now talk to me blah this law prioritize him all this law changes the one have law supplementary budget lawyer, which is me to me look him, but you may continue to talk long end. You may suppose long by this time. Honorable member, will be sharing some ministers too. Will share him. Now you should have talking more now. Also, come on time this list. Asterikim all this all of this focus areas now. Come give him so that you may make him some changes. You will like him. Lo me too. You will talk here. Me too. Me like him too. Lo road lo me lo have. When you people talk about you mean like moving or something. Road lo me lo solos or plenty feet of roads lo have. No we don't get that. That's why me ask him too. Some minister who's at the consent of DPI or what. You break start good one time good car. You yet you call look him around him past and to constituency blah 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 look him how we are living. Road and me access long one something you play talk long in. So me too here me like talk some all colleague member na ministers only discuss enough. By this time you may suppose long asterisk him now one him have only like him all changes he come up long in. Now you may talk or write him back this now by me use him this supplementary budget lo walk about one time. Okay, lo police arim good me too me mas pigaya niklik tumas. Me too me sabi halvim lo lilik money lo me lo halvim police ironim this work long in. Now sometime in over this support allowance not me advance now. So one time this honorable speaker talk him all. You can adjourn him lo lilik time here. Come esterik him all this hub where you like talk by got senis long. Thank you.
Honorable members, me like talk also long all matters also of substantive matters of debate. Standing order, I make clear, each member has only one opportunity. However, you can talk, then you ask him leave, Parliament, he can allow him you. I have exercised some discretion on all questions without notice because they are different from subject matters or me workload discuss him. Me like talk also that's all because no good all members who said talk finish. Only thing chair me unfair na no workload mark him all. That's why me workload talk. Who said member talk. The opportunity is there. But he look all same. I think that member is enough to contribute. How I can see two members. By me marking Minister Blong Health, na member Blong Central, Bougainville National Parliament after the minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Me like talk thank you long Finance Minister, long supplementary budget and President Maste. I think plenty sentiment. I mean, all members will express him long dissatisfaction long budget. Me pla long cabinet, me pla bin talk, me pla bin pull him tight him go. Me too also Minister long health. Based on all discussions where you may been working on Tuesday, not too long based on report long committee, me work strong inside below me. Me been asking 3.5 million. One time program na plan where department and been working. Long improving this health system below you me based on the report. But Minister, I mean, talking me also because on tight budget, Minister, me no not blow me too much, but me give me little enough. Long me can give him. So me been accept him, me talk I'm all right at least. It's better than nothing. Because me no looking way out where me can ask him for more. Now, me believe also we are all in the same situation in every sector. Now, one of all expectation blow you me long one happy mission up. Suppose you me like Surukim Mark meeting by you mean on up long finding space. But me share him one kind of sentiment, want them all members that there are issues of importance that we need to address through the supplementary budget that should be treated as priority. Suppose Minister we can got some way, at least, and we can accommodate him all this tinting, all members he work him. So me can talk also, you me one bill, now you me pass him, it's a budget. Because I think big plahap, Minister and President, only work commitment finish. Long one constituency by kissing 1 million on next coming budget, which me purpose long discussions, long budget sessions, and also you me put him tinting, sample tinting by me share him and long carry him forward now you me implementing on next budget. Because now we are already into July, where we not got enough time. I think plenty long some money. You may not implementing by come up end of the year. So good platin thing lo you me accepting sa thing. Also government now me accepting this like long you me all constituency members plus ministers long supporting you me long constituencies lo you me. Long meeting long BEC too. Me harim lo yaw lo me long Attorney General, I'm talk also now priority below me and long constituency, long internal prong. So look long government now, I'm on display. Time national government work long politics below you on top. You mean now by you me go down. Now you me strong in base below you me long place. You me stop long ground below you me. Place below you me. Not more working one and like long all. You me independent. You me talk. You me stop long ground place below you me. You mean strong in place below you me. You mean developing place below you me. So me supporting tinting long government, long supporting all constituencies. One ten tinting long 1 million kina, long coming budget. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member of Law Central, National Parliament.
Thank you, Speaker. Good afternoon. We like give him this contribution below me go inside again. Thank you to us. Look sabe long supplementary budget long finance minister. Me continue long addressing especially the immediate or need, especially for constituency or inside long region below you or Bougainville. Big team we got long big support and me. As a member for Central Bougainville, I look out in DDA and inside Longen by me, he work one time government, especially Law Central, one time all, long complimenting especially me like also Minister long sick or health mi tok long yan. Yumi ABG continue long empowering people below Yumi. In a detail, especially in the lower level governance below Yumi, so that they take ownership. Na only work long all, half long all, na scale long all, especially lo cheap na onarapla. So Yumi continue long go down long all people below Yumi long yan. Me like talk lo Yumi long yan. Me like go long yan long impact projects, especially long Milo Central impact projects. So our detailed budget or money plan below Yumi or contribution given money and me larim long hupla all ABG na antap long me like focus on impact projects, especially like infrastructure na all schools and me start on them Yumi long and big pla tintin like me long support him this pla budget and start here one time Yumi long work one time long area me inside the national parliament na ikam long central Bougainville. So make it a big support long yan, this budget. So it's only maybe it can be considered in this budget supplementary or the next budget. Like I like him long area you can include in me. One time ABG long support him area below church. Church me one area and you must assist him or you look out him. You may talk long and plenty time law in order. They are the online is have a molding a poem or man personal character and attitude belong and all churches is start belong and so maybe legally galvin law government long this concept law partnership government and the church maybe that can be looked at and continue to work on it to improve more so that you may assist in churches below Yumi to perform their duty, their responsibility when them legally assistant and government give him long end, including myself inside this area. So once again, me support him budget and me start long plan long finance minister and long government of the day. Thank you.
Honorable member for Kongara.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, long giving me time. Long me can contribute to long debate long. One very important statement, debate long money or budget, because money answers everything. Me the work sit down staff, me work long way work the talk. Me to sign up one time all college members. Where me play go through one campaign, already me play all service providers be money, time me play staff person. But on the other side, me one bill through one time, talk mining minister too, no good me broken budget na you mix in time again. Talk me by short plataso, me talk you me passing this budget, and can making work. And so thank you.
Honorable member long Rao.
All right, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Giving me time too long. Seri mama mas blomi long this budget. Misabe also talk by me talk him now and by making one Arab colleague blomi less true. But me like talk also me ama mas lo budget. Budget where Mr. Finish how minister is sit down in finish. Also true I'm also ogotan Arab colleague he so in finish belad na only no one bell through. But time you delay also, especially me block long belad long especially me long constituency grant one time support allowance also now let blow me to you want him finish here and to is minute long go pani miracle check lo also some good blouse but them musantia no got so
big plap finance minister through Mr. Speaker. Me like to call some the sol. Emi no pilai. Emi through me play minimum set also all grants ya. Now all support allowance. One way or the other. People are finding money na. Suru kimi kam na me play make him all walk inside long all constituencies. So me like talk strong through. Supporting mulnara black colleague also. Me play minimum through. So that imi finding money giving me all members because me over the openness. Me plus stop na lo third quarter. Na second no yet. I think man play you see one of them talk place tolai. Na me talk pisin ya. So me like talk also 718. 718 ya only call him lo street na around. Why na me all members have savings at lo 718 ya? You know na narapla 812 or new plan number yet putting me all members long or any kind number. So talk because all the money look forward 718 already yet. So Mr. Speaker 290 yeah. Me plan must put him on long all department he must prioritize me all leaders senap long backbench especially. So up to me outstanding money. Belong lo expired man now sample lo service providers where stop tamblo to long finance every time also become na put him target. This la money too long inside long supplementary budget. I think he look lo so that we can cover him sample go down na. He stop lo make him all di now. Long especially lo this la. But one time this la lo make him all narapla koliki pil him no good. Me support him through budget. Me like you me pass him. Me ba me vote for pass him budget ya. Na you me go aside na me go lo peles na me go lo too. So one time this law, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Me like call him Vice President because he wants to make some explanations, but to do so and by asking leave the House.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, because bami talk number 2 time. Me seek him leave the House law. Try 1 or 2 explanations. That's all. Thank you.
Honorable members, is leave granted for the Vice President? Let me like explain him something. Leave is granted. Go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, plenty blongol members only raise him this lab one all outstanding blongol service providers. So me like talk sabi longol good lo budget and true short time also nami plan ok lo read good. Lo budget you got lo outstanding global service providers, Mr. Speaker, you got 1 million kina lo service providers threat. You got veterans commitments too. Em lo display it, em narapla 1 million kina. Em you looking lo budget ya, but only separate them. Okay, you got OPEC commitment, em lo service providers yet, you got 1.5 million is stop yet. This is the budget now we apply by possible. So total by 3.5. You can talk also, you categorize them also, Mr. Speaker, about go along all service providers, former combatants, generally all service providers, all businessmen, now over commitments. So big money, you go out long, all service providers. And tap long, normal budget. We got 1.4 million to stop. So by 7.5, now you go along law ship, special intervention fund, normal budget, you got 10 million kina stop. But problem money, long come. But members, also, you got plenty competing interest now. You may karem heavy. Also, Minister Blue Mind Sibin talk, lo BC, me too me got this frustration. Lo why me plan to working work because members of the House no can think also member all ministers only kai money lo 290 M2 no got. No got. Me plan get a stop lo 718. Now me been asking Chief Secretary this time. Now Land of Finance Minister, you plus swim me past them. One em haplo law em to call sem. 290 and money blue you pla. Me ask him also. One em haplo law em to call sem. all of peace agreement. And one kind of frustration you got. Me play you express him one kind of frustration, but also mining minister I talk. Only you open up now look talk. Next year, emba alright. Next year emba alright. So na president lo bisi mi talk 1 million. Na mikira pitok-tokan dem chief sec na talk. No good ba yung surukim ko 1.5 million. Commitment where time this la commitment mi pla kisim lo big man play mi president na chief sec mi pla talk lo budget asin am talk okay. You can learn budget go through. Mi pla lo sad lo bisi mi pla tu kat planti bell pen lo disla. So one time sila Mr. Speaker, I make explanation, we can give him long on. Nalo side lo bongol police service. You buy him about 600, but lo normal budget, we got 10 million belong to silipista. We have all house belong all, lo capacity belong all house. So one play big something about you remember I talk to short time. Na me too me chorus lo sila lo busy. Time only oklo talk short time am talk you play ben kat long pla time straight no can give me excuse also am short pla time me express him this la lo na honorable Carlos you sabe lo pasin lo miro busy me talk him all straight no can give me play excuse him short time but because me plan understand him also work lo gamani mas run me block lo talk me pla larim this la iron to lens minister me chorus mi talking mi plan sam tu mi ka tol pida road lo hab lo mi what po you plan lo fund him na yet tu mi plan explain lo ngam to okay let's allow it mi plan kata mi plan lo BC level BC tu mi plan got this frustration mi staff one kind of frustration you got so Mr. Speaker mi ko appeal lo members lo house you may allow this la budget lo go through and next year you make him commitment tete na you talk you by one constituency back at 1 million and then we decide. Member of law, Nissan you 1 million blow you na you go walk him law like na sabi na ting blow you. O member of law hago ko he. Emol dislakan. Member of law lato no kan koros tumas next year by mixi sample money blow this. So I think me explain him because I look talk plenty long on service providers, Mr. Speaker. I think we have enough money in the supplementary budget, at least lo give him all. Because last time we meet lo BC, only time close him gate lo mi pla lo BC, na mi pla kata come out na address him all. Na mi pla all ministers come address him all, you know heavy lo mi pla. Heavy lo administration line. O lo pay na mi pla tu demand him. You pla talking mi pla past them. O give me pla list lo payment you pla working lo January, lo service providers. All these all issues have been stopped. But Mr. Speaker, also me plol kata, me acknowledge him, bel heavy belong all members. Me acknowledge him bel heavy belong members, na me oglo lak to kolsem. Suppose you meeting ting long, whether by me pass him budget or not, me oglo lak behind him ting belong, Attorney General. You me put him long boat, let's vote on this one and let's see how it goes now. You me kata ako malo. No good me pull him, talk to maslo here na. You fight na melo because he got legal money you may fight long him. I think the only way, Mr. Speaker, put it to the vote. Put him lo vote or some Attorney General local staff na you kata you can kiss him result na you go out na you go malo. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member of Tewa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Legal contribution we can make him long this plus supplementary budget is why me support him this plus budget. Firstly, I'm the independence ready. And one plus big project where you may got inside of this plus budget. Legal time that's all. Yeah, you're going up December. You must make him difference. Time is no luxury for us today because you may are in penis or talk and may come now. On that basis, me also support him this plan for independence ready for the sake of this plan legal money by carrying you go until next year's budget. All must book him all get the preparations now you may look him. And then big plan meeting by come up long Tuesday. This plan money to I think minus 718 emigato Molio ko singaw timimi all member long kam. But all this pla why me supporting this pla budget? Do me must lo something but all this pla something me start lo budget, especially independence ready. Me work lo got strong pla tinting also. You must pass him this pla budget tete. Now lo this pla abinun. And one time this pla one pla have two aplo kuruvina. Kuruvina two one pla something me mas long where legacy blood display government like first house only been working BSP investment. Now you may benefit long Now Kuruvina, you must work in one plus something. And it is today, I start one time, you me today, face blow you me. That's why me support the Mispla budget and must ego one time Mispla tim long learn acquisition long Kuruvina. You me start long strategic point now. A decision point long walk about this 4th house. Now, I think that you may are in voice. Members, you may are in voice long government. Me are in voice long government. Suppose you know are in voice long government. Last time, me probably click line come back here. And government me voice him. How will you stand next year? That's the voice. By me voting this budget long MTT or this avenue. Arim this voice. Na president and working commitment finish one time chief sec. That's the voice. Bello or ringing blow you me tete. Time me go pass him this na budget today. You buy go one time mass because next year you are secure. Na next year by you are implanti bello or fighting lo you. Rouse him this man long constituency na vote him new man. This time, bell blow by Surukia. So, this plan. Me yet, we work in big plan work. Na me and mass also more people blow me. Or you bring cacao. Me blood as well, you pull up him, sun come up one time cacao. So, work long. Me lo lick money, government me helping me. Na me no got bell pen long government. Some of the time is late, but me understand him situation. How you manage him, will speak more. Time we can on next year. That's why government is ringing bello. You may have him, now I'm passing this budget. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member Blo Baba, you were close enough yet. You got one opportunity where you can talk or certain members or listen up or you can talk. You can seek him leave or lo third reading. Time only move him third reading. You can sign up na talk. Lo now you can seek him leave. Suppose you like talk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May seek him leave long. Speak a second time on this discussion on the budget, the second reading.
No members is leave granted? Leave is granted.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll be very short. Firstly, me like talk thank you all thoughts that have been put forward, especially this afternoon. I think me blar and planning thing come along executive, including the floor. Mr. Speaker, me like express him disappointment below me on the way the budget has been carried. Meeting also since the first year me plakam sa this house, there has not been any compromise between one of something plak agreement law floor. I think what time we been talking the morning, I requested me ask him also opinion below me law floor also because there are certain allocations me plak ting long. This is and I said we are not talking about a wholesale change in the budget. There are certain areas that we think should have some reallocations, so me can ensure that supplementary budget and cater long. And one of them is me talk long. Yeah, the police. We keep saying that the police have a lot of money. These are infrastructure funds. We're talking about the operations. This is a challenge of operation, for example. And I think, Mr. Speaker, time we discuss this floor regarding discussions on the budget. I think I mean people come to a middle ground. Now middle ground means also the views of the backbench must also be accommodated. Me plan on a sit down here na to also we have reached a consensus when the views of only the executive is, because the views of the executive are reflected in the budget itself. Now, the debate within cabinet, now also planting speak, executive member Tok Pinis, have as a result resulted in what the budget is. But that has not accommodated the views of the backbenchers. Now, but Mr. Speaker, as I said, we are not talking about a wholesale change. There are certain items should be changed. Now me think, Mr. Speaker, because House of the Committee of the House, under the law, I mean, allow him Committee of the House to make him a reallocation. I mean, allow him House to so long increase him or decrease him under the Constitution. So, one of the suggestions, we have a think about it. It must be proper consultations. Now, if there is a provision under the standing orders, let me adjourn him and we come in the afternoon, maybe on Monday. Next week, I'm lead a forum, yeah? We'll be here on Monday. You may come, let's accommodate some of these allocations. And member Lato Tok Lem, not all his views will be accommodated, or some of his views, there are technical challenges. But let's accommodate some of these views. Let's accommodate it. Now, Monday, you may come back now. We can adjourn to Monday to pass the budget. Now, suppose you got different view in terms of by September. Well, if we can get agreement, so be it. Who's the budget going to benefit? But me, like told Mr. Speaker, I think we have to find a middle ground. We need to consider some of these allocations. I had a short discussion with the finance minister. And I think finance minister discussion blow me one day, ma'am. I found that you know what leeway law allow him for some consideration. And I don't think that's the way we should be going. If the finance minister keeps on driving the agenda, told him these are according to the allocations people put in place, I don't think that's the way to go inside of this house. Meeting also, we should consult. Now, the morning we've been expressing disagreement, we keep on suspending the standing orders on the 7-day requirement. Me appeal also next round. I'm not going to come up again because we won't allow, for one, I will disagree to further suspensions of the 7-day requirement law, any budget. These also, yesterday or the day before yesterday, when I said we need to start reflecting the strategy in terms of independence readiness, maybe told them, let's start with the budget. Let's start with the budget. That's the place to start because this is where we get the resources to prepare our people. Long independence readiness. So, Mr. Speaker, me like expressing as a member, Staplong Baba, also I'm not comfortable with the budget, but it will come down to the decision where me respecting views blog at our leaders inside of this house. Thank you for allowing me to express views from me. Thank you.
Honorable Minister for Technical Services.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me to contribute on this debate. Viblomi Islam lilik budget tasun I'm oklong kisimimi 2 days finish. So was your Monday and by 3 days. I mean on agree tasun na I pass him. Me know must raise a budget too, yeah. Because me know looking constituency below me is stuff inside. But plenty lo you will complain, yeah. You will stuff inside. Me looking Lato, Baba, Rao, Terra, Ogata you will stuff. So me appeal on finance minister, next budget, Lure must stop. So you will stop. You don't like one. Nope. There are two big value on this budget. These are 6 million desalination plant. Actually, this is even BC decision. Yeah. Long give him opportunity long all atolls by only kisim water. But actually, the budget is about 9.5. These are 6 million. And little money come inside. Then I still requesting some 3 million on next budget. Now on 7 million, the atoll shipping. Now this week, me work on the works minister. Me look at the mainland, the island, Gok Island, me play covered finish. So it's fair enough. Me considering more adults now, or can seem the ship. So if you me agree na me passing this budget, Monday me no have staff on this meeting on debating again. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister for Police.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Me too, me. Me ultim director of pastor. Me no sabot di budget ya. Pag iba sambla ulang cross tab ya. Nemlo ibla api finish front page. So we shall some supplementary budget them, additional something ah. Mix 600 gen long Operation Challenger. Time BC bin to correct 1 million, I'll give me 600. 400 they lose yet. And now I'll give me 600, then we'll want something again. The extra, huh? Extra 200 on top. You must travel some law and justice sector. And me, one time me, but only functions narpla yet, narpla kind, only operate narpla way yet. Also album CIS. Also album too much bogan with police service. Anytime, also album CIS. No, you me bogan with police service, New Zealand. Also album bogan with police service. How much plus big man from New Zealand come or ICOM come sit on them me. First thing me ask him to talk, we like him. What am I? Accommodation. You like him training me blind not walking. Yet Bali talk. Me blind not walking. Fund him car or house or something else. But next time we pass him supplementary budget, you must have a finish the priority from president. You must have a finish long. You may like him law and order, he must all right. I mix independence. So you must cut him good. Now me urgently need him triple 10 seater. Long special unit. Because higher from block on top. About 600,000 he come and by finish next week. And next week me like him. No later than that. 800,000 long infrastructure. Next week to me like him. And me play kiss him one or something. Me play urgently need long. Fast track him. Law and order. Counter him. But we support him the budget. We out him show how law and justice is stop where. Now Bougainville police is son of us one. But we play one team yet. No shame last time we go witness him law and justice. Launch him all 8% club back with me on master. But them all Australian partnership. So me do me next one take him chitalato or book to pull up. Black give him na black give him plus some really cut long next supplementary budget. Thank you. You may pass him.
Minister for Lands.
Thank you. I think me too, me Sanap. I share the same sentiments. Me at the first place, Mr. Speaker, I really didn't want to talk, contribute because long long frustration blow me coming up now, na me come inside long BC too. But me like asking all members, long you me down in me yet na pass him this budget. From what I see, or from where I see, me looking also me plug at this budget where you start where me continue long deliver long all priorities long government. And that is 2023 budget. This plan supplementary budget that may come long tripla means something. Number one, me 150 million. This 50 million was left out maybe mistakenly or it was an oversight. So government may been right not to only being talk na it was finally put back. So in other words, emi go na address him again all priorities belong government. Time only put him back this 50 million. That is why law ito called bayumi supplementary budget long em. Number 2 money. M1 plus 7 million. So 7 million ya, M commander it long 1 plus PIP. The regional member emi authority long this plan. And we have all agreed long yumi support him online below yumi long atols. The third money, M1 plus 0.5 million from PSV shares. And this plan money, because of the changes, emi wok long come up long all ministries. And by cater long all ministerial needs long here. Ministries are the same, emi wok long facing big challenges through at this moment too. We cannot even access all recurrent given the current situation. So me like appeal, I share the same sentiments. Now I want to appeal again to the government and to the administration, to the bureaucracy. Long you may look again, long how long frame him. There has to be some ways of framing this budget so that it's this inclusive. Me believe, now me agree one time you members. If I was at the corner, and by me joining you long sharing all same sentiments. What I missing up long talk is to appeal long you because I had the same frustration long BEC on the basis that from day one, you know that one IBG project Kamablo Makis. Everybody will be saying for their own constituencies. Me like come inside long BEC, na me like pulling too, but I mean no. So me like ask him, all members blow me. Can we respect him this government? Now you me pass him so that government and we can run him all priorities. Long this click 3 money and we come inside. As a matter of fact, you know, the money is supposed to be at 50 million. It's supposed to have been included, but because it was an oversight, only put him back. We have the budget of 2023 passed that we will come up all through this year. So I think with that understanding, you may agree now we passing. Instead, you may come back or you may vote long him. Me, I share the same sentiments, and I also appeal that there has to be some kind of ways in which we can look long propelling this next year's budget. And I, for one, me agree too one time this intervention long 1 million or 1.5 million to constituencies. Yesterday, me making one big talk, and I didn't want to long specifically point him finger long bureaucracy long or good work long working, but from the perspective that so far, Miss Accountable is this number 3 year. Next year will be 4th year. No, and our delivery is slow in terms of development and growth, the way we anticipate it to be. Can we kind of develop some ways in which by framing this budget so that it is inclusive? If the administration cannot go now building feeder road, Lomakis, Lolo, Kakao, now every time I try to give data, bisa talk because Makis is Lombuin district, Makis is the highest. Data I have proven. Now we contribute. If Makis is the highest low producing cocoa, low farmers, we contribute heavily to the economy in Loboganville. If you like him or not. But we have not received anything from the government as enough now. So me like putting this forward. If the administration cannot come na straight more road, long Makis, give him this 1.5 million na member by working long own way long him. So me like appeal long here to my colleagues. Let's pass this, and then you may look him the government am taking priority long him with this supplementary budget. We have the 2023 budget and we cover him up this year. This is just a supplementary budget to actually realign and restructure, refocus some of the government's priority. A lot of these issues that are listed in this one, will busy decisions. Na busy man, government blow you, yeah. So suppose you may come lawyer, now you may pull him tight him. We are not doing justice to ourselves. A lot of this, blow you. This is yours. School blow you, housing blow you, independence blow you. They are all captured in here. Let us browsing social long. You may individual, and then you may agree now, you may pass him. As I have said, a lot of what has been said, me agree one time. Given my position, I really didn't want to contribute because of the frustration that I hold, but me feel him also me need long contribute so that you make him balisi. Now me pass him this plan. Am I right? Thank you, True.
The Honorable President.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. By hearing all our debate on budget, I feel the challenge. This House has been challenged, firstly, by general public. I think only looking at some President and me, young Plamangi Thomas, now we like challenge him, yeah. Apart from the last House. You go inside, we're being challenged and faced all our challenge within the bureaucratic system belong you, yeah. Now you may come inside on this house. It's a very clean and orderly manner of the challenge. Me look personally along is a supplementary budget. Me note him 1 plus something. Firstly, you may not come up in good plan money yet. So every expenditure you balance in one time, income blow you. Or some along me minus I talk too much. Because we are still begging. And that is where bulk of the challenge comes in, Mr. Speaker. Some line said challenge him government like this day. All you need to have a working good business. And that they continue to challenge this government. I'm government blow you me all get. So time me way in pros and cons, me looking more some. One of decision me play work long government take him. I think me one pla decision where accommodating everyone. Secondly, okay the government you know sa hamamasim all get a man. Some no general public blow you meal outside, Mr. Speaker. Government you know na hamamasim you. Because need blow me play raising internal revenue is at risk. Because time you ask him money, you pass him around again. Example long plantation lo upside lo passes yeah. I think me one plan where me looking more some me one time all not apply ex competence we have contributed. But yet now the landowners have took that priority now you work long. Challenging government at the same time. Time we look work him this like challenge. Or you hold him back. All areas which government enough long. Put him on a solar farm, make him work long on a housing scheme. You look him. So along me look him more some challenge long you me and me one good challenge. Me sabe hamamas long all challenge because it makes me understand the needs of the people. You know what, on time by me, come up with something from me yet apart from all local, all family affairs from me. But also look long all big picture. Where you may all got to come inside, we have been voted in by the people. So time you may come inside, challenge belong you me and block growing internal revenue. So time you may get expenditure and income which have no balance and off balance. Long me see walk sit down na talk. Na pa me give him one answer long people of Bougainville na or one constituency. What will be the best? So the best is here in the supplementary budget. So we must pass the supplementary budget, Mr. Speaker. You may must pass him, now you may move government in along, make him all get a money on us. But at least suppose you look along schedule or time frame, you are accommodated. Next year, you will be accommodated. Igo inside long all preparations belong you long independence. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, I think you may know that member is enough, so me like talk thank you long you may at least recognize him all issues in terms of all talk me walk him na. I think what remains now is for me to call the Minister for Finance, lo walk him all response remarks belong in. The Honorable Minister for Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We'd like just welcome some observation long all comment long all members and all ministers. Number one, this is just a supplementary budget. Some of those things you raise him, it's accommodated in the 2023 budget. Example, the police is vice talk police only got good budget. Plus 2023 money belonging in no come yet. We got the warrant lo sample draw down now. For example, one of the high impact project for police is 10 million building more housing blow police, especially the vision blow president blow Yumi by Yumi must reach him mark blow 1,000 police men and women long this plan number because I'm also comply one them United Nations law ratio of police and all. So he got also some funding inside law this plan 2023 the main one blow capacity building blow police it's well the one you be work law political long 600,000 is the one on the BEC decision long only working decision law carrying out this plan operation. When the BEC made a decision long approving 1 million, what it means is we have to find where we can rescope it. Now, we only identified since the decision was made for, I think, 600,000. Now, me play walk him and then logut me play tap him again long narpla programs yeah by affecting project long ola. So that's why me play factor him 600,000. Just on this operation by continue on one time this exploration because of the positive impact of this operation lo Bougainville. Long site long issues you plaration lo Bougainville Research and Planning Secretariat you plan raising it's quite important that we complete this program, complete him good this program lo work long all, especially the medium term development strategy 5 year by year it gonna have long vision 2052 I think it is. So long issue you be raising long cabinet even approve him we need to celebrate the you may call him underneath lo payet patriotic celebration. You got money belong in there. This is basically we want to send a signal to the Papua New Guinea government. Time only want the political process below Yumi. We want to set talking national government. We are celebrating this day, which means Yumi strong and believe below Yumi long burukulus. Simple as that. Mobility. I think Vice you talk long and finish. Explain him, Kuruina, I may all explain him finish. 7 million is quite clear. 6 million desalination. This was a special project. President Bloyumi, with his wisdom, after he realized in all atolls, there were disadvantages from all atolls, now all island. Yeah. Since creation of Bougainville, Bougainville Island 32 million years ago, and also people of Bougainville have lived on this island for the last 40,000 years. This is the first time in history existing island that a so-called political leader is working decision, tough decision. We need to help them improving quality of life long all. Thank you. Long narapla issue where the former chief Acting Secretary lo Yumi, Member lo Haku, all process lo project, we go through the process. Okay? You got process through the Regional Budget Priority Committee, and I come through the system, and I go through the CACC, Ministerial Budget Team, and also the Cabinet. Okay? In fact, we are implementing the program, the process, the documentation. Any projects that come through proposal or regional, it must be accommodated with the project identification documents and project formulation documents. We are still doing it today. Implementation issue rollover, me like explaining for them. You got a rollover and start up. Suppose you look long. Sorry, not rollover. The project only roused him last year 50 million. You look him north, central, south, yeah. And the project you may been roused him, 50 million. It's going back inside. Sampla, time me come back, only realign him, that's all. That's why I look all the same. Just to explain him. So, lo display. Me like Dr. Gyulo, you mean that you are also, we are very constructive. Now, keeping government in check, especially from the backbench. This is what real democratic system operate. So, with this, we talk about some long resolution of Parliament last time. Long, we have to look at, say, 40 million, 1 million each constituency. This level of discussion after motion was passed here. You go through right to the top law, administration, chief secretary, and down into the process. So in other words, we play no lose thing long. And also now direction again, cabinet through the president and the vice, that we have to seriously consider this, which means by me including long budget, full budget below next year. Now, me like explaining good lo this plan. So, with this sample explanation, so support even come all members, president, vice, support grant, support grant, and you suppose you will look about backbenchers as members of Bougainville Executive, when issues come up in Parliament, also Minister of Mining come up. That's why during lunch time, also adjourning meetings of Parliament, people all ministers go back na talk department secretariat and officers you mean discussing issues. That's why we leave this place lunch na place na talk long. So today, we go talk ante officers department secretary na down the line na mi communicate one time IRC commissioner through the office belongan lunch, and he assured me some little good plan news, and I made a decision once we have approved this budget, I will give direction to officer of the Parliament the processing all outstanding claims of support na development grant by goal office law na development grant outstanding first and second quarter, but me give him direction that they should be processed immediately.
Honorable members, the question is that the bill be now read a second time. Those in favor say aye. Against? The ayes have it. The clerk.
Mr. Speaker, second reading of the Supplementary Appropriation Bill 2023.
Honorable the Minister. Message come lo BEC long plus certificate, which goes with the supplementary bill, supplementary appropriation. Let me read him. recommendation for expenditure of public monies. The Bougainville Executive Council, by virtue of the powers conferred by Section 156(1) Executive Initiative of the Bougainville Constitution, hereby recommends the Autonomous Region of Bougainville Supplementary Appropriation Bill 2023 and the 2023 ABG Supplementary Budget insofar as it provides the expenditure of public monies. Dated this Wednesday, the 28th day of June 2023, signed Honorable Ismail Torama, President and Chairman of Bougainville Executive Council. The Honorable the Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the bill be now read. State time.
For members, the question is that the bill be now read a third time. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The clerk.
Mr. Speaker, third reading of the Supplementary Appropriation Bill 2023.
Honorable members, and bill passed by plus certifying, hopefully by tomorrow. Nasali mi go back long implementation. Leader of government business, I understand there's a number of ministers who have ministerial statements. The Honorable Minister for Public Service.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to present my ministerial statement to this Honorable House and the people of Bougainville to inform all on the implementation of the department's programs and projects. This department is supposedly the department that should be responsible for fair employment, discipline, management, and leadership of the Bougainville public servants. Mr. Speaker, as I presented in my last ministerial statement, a total transformation of the culture of this current Bougainville public service is a key undertaking by my ministry and the department to realize the independence dream of Bougainvilleans as we transition from the autonomous arrangement to nationhood. Mr. Speaker, in my 85 days as the Minister for Bougainville Public Service, I have seen challenges in the conduct and performance of the public servants generally. Nevertheless, I would like to begin my statement by presenting an update on some of the progress of work in my 85 days in office in my capacity as Minister. Mr. Speaker, I have 11 areas that I wish to update this House on. Mr. Speaker, the department received the draft public service bill from the Australian drafter last month, May. My ministry and the senior management team of the Department of Administrative Services set in Arawa on the 7th to 9th June for 3 days to review the draft, only to find that there was still a lot of work to be done. Some setbacks include, amongst others, the use of the terminology and contextualizing the bill to suit local context. Also, the leadership at the time of developing the drafting instruction did not consider the transitional arrangement in the likely event that Bougainville declares independence within the window period of 2025 to 2027. Thus, we have resolved that we will seek assistance from the PNG First Legislative Council for a drafter to complete this task. Mr. Speaker, the right sizing of 3 departments, Department of Finance and Treasury, Department of Community Government, and Department of Personnel Management and Administrative Services has been approved and currently uploading into the ALESCO system, whilst Department of Legal and Justice Services is awaiting uploading. Departments that have yet to restructure and right-size are urged to seek assistance from my department as soon as practicable. Mr. Speaker, the internal recruitment began on the 4th April 2023. The team are now going through the final stages of the selection of candidates and should complete the exercise in the second week of July. The external recruitment for directors and specific technical officers should follow shortly in August once we have completed our internal recruitment. Mr. Speaker, it is important that this House is informed that constraints in our personnel emolument budget has restricted external recruitment for key middle management positions. Mr. Speaker, the retirement exercise for this year is still ongoing. 20 officers have been identified across all departments and should retire at the end of this year. This figure may change according to the department needs in terms of staffing. I do reiterate that it is wise to retire between the ages of 55 to 65 in order for you to enjoy the fruits of your service to the people of Bougainville in your remaining years. Mr. Speaker, the Health Awards is still a major undertaking by our ministry and department this year as it was in year 2022. We have configured health awards for Bougainville health workers and also translated these awards to align with the Bougainville Public Service salary grades, which saw a significant alteration from PNG grades. Mr. Speaker, we have also averted industrial actions by nurses here on Bougainville by calculating their remaining balances of outstanding awards. The calculations are now with the National Nurses Association to source funding for the outstanding allowances. Mr. Speaker, a capacity needs analysis exercise was carried out through all departments and districts on Bougainville, as stated in my maiden ministerial statement, and we are in the process of completing the Bougainville Public Service 3-year training plan and development strategy. This will result in a more coordinated approach to capacity development in the public service and in the near future as we prepare for independence. Mr. Speaker, to improve performance of departmental heads as leaders and managers of the respective departments, an advanced diploma in leadership and governance course will be provided to all secretaries with the assistance of a long-term partner in capacity development, the Somora Institute of Leadership and Governance. We are also in the process of sourcing a reputable organization to run policy development and planning courses for our Bougainville Public Service officers. This initiative is a direct response to the significant competency gap in policy development, which we will address in this endeavor. Mr. Speaker, our department will be undertaking a manpower audit in the next following months, starting in July 2023. This is a huge undertaking for the Bougainville Public Service, as this exercise will guide us to ascertain how many public servants is needed to run an independent public service, identify workplace supply and demand, assess gaps and skills needed for competent public service. Mr. Speaker, with assistance from the Department of Finance and Treasury, we now have a trust account for vehicles and housing. A deduction code has already been created and awaiting the configuration of this deduction code to our trust account. Deduction of transport or logistical allowance from departmental heads and ministers with the inclusion of government housing rentals, we will contribute a small percentage to our internal revenue from the Bougainville Public Service. Mr. Speaker, with the goal to create an efficient and effective public service, a competent and vibrant Bougainville Public Service is necessary. To achieve this, we have already started pay cuts for officers missing work without valid reasons. This is a practice that we will implement to become business as usual. So for those officers who are always absent, you either attend to work or be dismissed from the public service. To ensure this is implemented, we will need full cooperation from all departmental heads to assist my department to end such chronic behavior. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, the department is also reviewing and renewing the senior officers' contracts for all departments that lapsed last month. Our department review team will review its contract on merit, thus giving us the opportunity to renew or terminate contracts according to the KRAs spelled out in the respective contract schedule. This is one way of removing or demoting senior officers who are not performing. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, my department's focus for the remainder of the year will be on policy implementation, organizational restructuring, manpower audit and planning, training development and recruitment, and PE forecasting to set the foundations for an independent public service. On this note, I wish to thank the BC for funding support in this year's budget to ensure we continue with our programs and projects to improve the performance of the Bougainville Public Service. Mr. Speaker, however, going forward, once we complete both exercise of restructuring and resizing of the departments, coupled with the manpower audit, we will ascertain the minimum requirement workforce to run an independent public service. ABT must allocate funding for its PE starting next year, 2024. At the moment, our PE is still being funded by the national government. This is one of the significant capacity issues that needs forward planning in terms of budgeting for our public servants. Mr. Speaker, to improve the challenge that we have in creating a government service that is accountable to BC and not autonomous in itself, our ministry and the department met with half of the ministers of the cabinet for consultation on how we can improve the performance of the public service on the 16th June 2023 after a meeting we had with the Honorable President on the 24th May. We plan to have a meeting with all departmental heads on the same issue on a day that is of convenient for all. As a former public servant, I believe the systems in place are good enough. The implementation and adherence to them is the issue. Mr. Speaker, we will also look at improving the public service legal framework in place by looking at legislative amendments in the new public service bill to ensure that the department responsible for personnel management and administrative services is the mandated department on all matters pertaining to the public service. At the moment, all powers and functions performed by the head of the public service is vested in the Chief Secretary, thus leaving our department toothless. I believe if these powers and functions are vested in our department, we will be able to move mountains and let the Chief Secretary be responsible only to the President and as the Chief Advisor to the President and the Bougainville Executive Council on a whole of government policy implementation. Thank you once again, and may God bless Bougainville. Mr. Speaker, I commend this statement to this House.
Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move that the House take note of the statement and debate can take place later in their later sessions.
Honourable members, the question is that the House take note of the Minister's statement and that the debate be made an order of the day for a future debate. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. For mining.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to present my ministerial statement. In doing so, I wish to first acknowledge the President, Vice President, Ministers, and the members of this Honorable House. Mr. Speaker, today as I present my first official statement as Minister responsible for Mineral and Energy Resources under the Torama Nisira government, I thank the President of the Autonomous Region of Bougainville on behalf of people of Terra for having the confidence in me and appointing me as Minister responsible for Mineral and Energy Resources. I am truly grateful and honored for this opportunity, and I commit myself to serve with integrity in this challenging ministry. Mr. Speaker, the challenge to raise internal revenue and achieve the required level of fiscal self-reliance for Bougainville is real. I stand ready to work with you, Mr. President, and you, Vice President, as the Oversight Economic Sector Minister, through the Mineral and Energy Ministry, in driving an economic sector plan that will deliver to the people of Bougainville a sustainable level of fiscal self-reliance that will drive diversified growth and development. Mr. Speaker, I thank the former Minister for Mineral and Energy Resources, Honorable Rodney Osioko. I am just resuming office, but already I can see significant accomplishments under Honorable Osioko's leadership. I am more than eager to continue with the good work he has done thus far and advance the key policies and strategies of this ministry. Mr. Speaker, all mineral and energy projects are directed towards delivering on the Toroama Nisera government's priorities, including the Bougainville independence timeline, and aligned to the President's six-point strategy. Mineral and energy emphasis is on strengthening the government's political control position through strategies aimed at building governance capacity and delivering on economic independence for Bougainville. Thus, key focus areas for the Department of Minerals and Energy Resources are economic growth and control, strategy number 2, and administrative control, strategy number 3. Mr. Speaker, on the administrative control front, strategic planning has been a key activity across the ABG, including short-term and long-term planning. With the expiry of the Bougainville Strategic Development Plan 2018 to 2020, Quarter 1 and Quarter 2 of 2023 have seen mineral and energy sector contribution towards the development of the Bougainville Integrated Strategic Development Plan 2023 to 2027. Progress was also made on finalizing the mineral and energy sector plans for the next 5 years to complement and align with the Bougainville Integrated and Strategic Development Plan 2023 to 2027. The revised plan will contain a revised organizational structure for the Department of Mineral and Energy Resources, which will be right-sized and will be lean and effective. Contribution to administrative control has also been on implementation of the SHARP agreement and progressing relevant work on transfer of Section 290 powers. Mr. Speaker, on the energy front, 2022 saw the development of and subsequent BEC endorsement of the Bougainville Energy Policy through BEC Decision number 73 of 2022. The Bougainville Energy Policy was officially launched in the first quarter of 2023 by our President on the 29th of March 2023 at the Parliament House precinct. The launching occasion was witnessed by the Speaker, members of the Bougainville House of Representatives, our regional member, and Australian High Commission representatives, to name a few. The Bougainville Strategic Energy Plan 2023 to 2033 was also launched with the energy policy. The plan is a guiding tool to direct the implementation action to be taken towards achieving the energy sector visions and goals set by the Bougainville Energy Policy. The plan will guide the development of the energy sector in Bougainville over the next 10 years. Besides this, BEC also endorsed for the establishment of the Bougainville Energy Office under the Office of the Chief Secretary to assume administrative responsibilities of the policy and overall energy sector management and coordination responsibilities. This energy policy and related works will eventually lead to the development of legislative frameworks for the regulation of energy sector in Bougainville. As energy is a key driver to economic growth, energy developments will continue to be prioritized in 2023 and beyond. This also includes green energy initiatives to tap into abundant green energy resources available at our doorsteps. Mr. Speaker, on the mining front, powers and functions in relation to mining safety, that is, Mining Safety Act and regulations, are yet to be drawn down. Progress towards the drawdown or transfer of this will remain a priority for the Department of Mineral and Energy Resources for 2023 and onwards as part of policy and legislative development. Further, in the process of administering the Bougainville Mining Act 2015 and of engaging in consultation about the future of mining in Bougainville, the President, successive ABG Ministers for Mineral and Energy Resources, and the Department of Mineral and Energy Resources have all become aware of gaps, sources of confusion, deficiencies, and problems in aspects of the Bougainville Mining Act. As such, the process for a selective review of the Bougainville Mining Act has commenced with a view to proposing amendments to those provisions which have been identified or are going to be identified as being problematic. It is not proposed to undertake a comprehensive review of the Bougainville Mining Act, but rather a selective review of the provisions identified as needing attention. Mr. Speaker, on the President's economic growth strategy, for the mineral sector, the most viable economic impact potential lies in redevelopment of the Panguna copper gold resource. 2021 and 2022 saw some positive progress in the Panguna mine dialogue between the ABG and landowners in realizing this mineral sector development opportunity. Various resolutions have been signed between the ABG and identified Panguna landowner representatives agreeing on a jointly owned local entity to redevelop the Panguna project. The next phases of the Panguna dialogue process will now focus on clearly developing the local entity concept and eventual licensing of the Panguna project. The Panguna mine dialogue process will officially be concluded once all stakeholders reach agreement on the structure of the local entity concept and reach agreement on a way forward with regards to licensing of the project. At the leadership level, the Central Parliamentary Committee has been the key drivers for the Panguna mine dialogue process in 2021 and 2022. Going forward, given the multiplicity of the mine legacy related issues in the Bana district and Torokina areas, especially in the mid to lower tailings and coastal corridor areas, I announced the inclusion of the honorable members of Lato constituency, Baba constituency, Bolawe constituency, and Torokina constituency into the Panguna mine dialogue leadership structure together with Central Parliamentary Committee. Mr. Speaker, where the administration has been involved in the Panguna mine dialogue since it was sanctioned by BEC via BEC decision number 35 of March 2021, the Panguna mine legacy impact assessment has been and is being undertaken without involvement of the administration. There has been no involvement of the ABG administration in the legacy impact assessment exercise, given that it has largely been driven from a political level together with the landowners. As such, the administration has been tasked to get involved with this exercise for the purpose of institutional memory and advising government. Mr. Speaker, on another note, the House is informed that in the event of a mineral license is granted over Panguna for the conduct of feasibilities towards a development license, both mining and environmental laws require for the license holder to carry out an environmental impact assessment and to prepare and submit an environmental impact statement. Thus, through the Panguna mine legacy impact assessment, although the Panguna mine legacy impact assessment is being undertaken now, it will be undertaken again in future under a mineral resource, under a mineral license as a requirement under law. The future developer will be required to submit an environmental impact statement that provides full documentation of all environmental and social issues and committing to the employment of relevant mitigation measures in relation to the development activity. Meanwhile, through the Panguna mine dialogue process, it has been agreed that the administration will be included in the legacy impact assessment reporting structure, and also it is necessary for the involvement of the administration in the Panguna legacy impact assessment exercise, particularly those relevant departments such as Department of Law and Justice, Department of Lands and Environment, Department of Community Government, and the Department of Minerals and Energy Resources. Mr. Speaker, on another Panguna mine dialogue related matter, in January of 2023, we were made aware of a writ of levy of property in the National Court matter, WS number 1256 of 2016, towards settling of judgment debts and legal fees totaling 1.8 million owed to Mr. Emmanuel Mai by RMTL and Panguna Landowners Association Limited. A writ for the levy of property is a national court order to the office of the sheriff to seize and sell at auction property belonging to the other party. The money from the sale is then to be used to settle the judgment debt owed. Assets involved in this instance include, number 1, portion 43, Tenacot Plantation. Number 2, Section 8, Allotment 10, Arawa. Number 3, Section 7, Allotment 4 in Arawa. Number 4, Section 6, Allotment 90 in Arawa. 5, Section 22, Allotment 103 in Arawa. 6, Section 16, Allotment 53 in Arawa. And 7, Section 13, Allotment 10, Kiata. In January of 2023, through the Chief Secretary, a settlement offer was put forward by the ABG to have all judgment debts and legal fees settled in full by the ABG on behalf of RMTL and Panguna Land Association as a matter of public interest for Bougainville. On the 1st of February 2023, RMTL and Panguna Land Association representatives signed a resolution with the ABG resolving that the ABG fulfill its settlement offer commitments in the best interest of all people of Bougainville. The ABG as a responsible government to undertake acute measures in preventing the sale of land within Bougainville. The ABG is to assume full control and custody of all assets and state leases in Arawa, including the Tenacot Plantation of RMTL Trustee Limited, until such a time when the parties agree on the development of the plantation in consultation with the traditional landowners. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, in relation to the judgment debt matter, we have only partially fulfilled the settlement offer commitment due to funding constraints. It is hoped that the ABG will consider additional funding towards the ABG fulfilling settlement offer commitments on this matter. Mr. Speaker, I provide the House with an update on the BCL shares transfer. As a background, the government of Papua New Guinea currently has 2 lots of shares in BCL. This includes 19% held under the Treasury Department and 17% held through EDA Minerals, a 100% subsidiary of Kumul Minerals Holding Limited. In 2016, the national government, through NAC Decision number 8182 of 2016, approved the transfer of 17% shares held by EDA Minerals to the landowners and the people of Bougainville, including the Panguna landowners. Further, in a March 2020 JSB resolution, it was agreed for the transfer of the whole 36% national government shareholding in BCL to Bougainville Minerals Limited. The JSB resolution further directed for Kumul Minerals Holding Limited to work together with the Department of Treasury and the ABG to effect the transfer. The work was significantly delayed by national government parties despite numerous JSB discussions on the matter, with national government shareholding entities citing the need for an NAC decision to authorize them to act. November 2022 finally saw an NAC decision to effect the JSB resolution of March 2022. As a result, the first 2 quarters of 2023 have been significant progress in terms of practical work on this matter. ABG parties, with the lead of ABG Department of Law and Justice and support of Department of Minerals and Energy Resources, have had ongoing consultations with relevant national government departments to progress this important activity. The transfer transaction is to take the form of an off-market transfer through share transfer deed. A draft share transfer deed for the transfer of the shares to BML was developed by the transferor, that is PNG, and transferee, the Bougainville Minerals Limited parties. The draft deed was legally cleared by the PNG State Solicitor this month, June 2023. On legal clearance, NEC is now to advise the head of state, Governor General, to endorse the shares transfer, effectively allowing for the shares transfer documents to be executed and thus completing the shares transfer process. Thus, an NEC submission and subsequent NEC decision is now required to advised the head of state to give final approval for the shares transfer. Given the practical progress with this work in Q1 and Q2 of 2023, it is anticipated that the shares transfer will be effected by end of July 2023. This, of course, is subject to timely actions on the part of the NAC and head of state. Mr. Speaker, I now present to the House on artisanal and small-scale mining developments. The impacts of artisanal and small-scale mining was a hotly debated topic in the most recent Parliament sitting. Mr. Speaker, a 2021 to 2022 artisanal and small-scale mining baseline survey report is being finalized for dissemination to stakeholders. The report identifies that artisanal and small-scale mining is largely poverty-driven and plays an important economic role in Bougainville, providing employment and income-earning opportunities. Despite the economic benefits, artisanal and small-scale mining has also had detrimental impacts on the social and environmental front, with serious health and safety consequences for those artisanal and small-scale mining miners and surrounding communities. The negatives are associated with the artisanal and small-scale mining development trajectory in Bougainville since after the Bougainville conflict, largely informal, and activities continue to expand unregulated. Mr. Speaker, the report estimates that above 10,000 people are directly engaged in artisanal and small-scale mining, including women and children, with most depending on artisanal and small-scale mining for their livelihoods. 64% of the artisanal and small-scale miners are males. In terms of age groups, 25% are under 18 years old, 40% between 19 to 30 years old, 30% are between 31 to 40 years old, and 5% more than 40 years old. This demographic shows that mostly the youth, ages between 19 and 40, are involved in artisanal and small-scale mining. Mr. Speaker, from the report, there are up to 70 distinct artisanal and small-scale mining sites in South and Central Bougainville, producing 80 kilos of gold per month and 970 kilos annually. Based on local Bougainville buying prices, at minimum, approximately 145 million is injected into the local economy annually by artisanal and small-scale mining. The survey also identified further potential economic benefits of the artisanal and small-scale mining sector are lost along the supply chain through poor practices in mining, processing, and marketing of artisanal and small-scale mining gold. Additionally, the ABG has not been realizing any revenue from artisanal and small-scale mining due to the lack of formalization of the sector and the absence of effective policy and legal basis for the collection of taxes and levies in relation to artisanal and small-scale mining. The artisanal and small-scale mining related problems have been attributed to poor practices in mining and processing of artisanal and small-scale mining gold. 99% of artisanal and small-scale mining gold related activities 99% of artisanal and small-scale mining related activities in Bougainville are informal with complete disregard for occupational health and safety conditions. 99% of miners are using primitive, labor-intensive, and ineffective techniques of great concern. 99% of miners are using primitive, labor-intensive, and inefficient techniques. Of great concern is that 97% of miners are using mercury, with approximately 8 kg of mercury being collectively used on a weekly basis. Identified social impacts of artisanal and small-scale mining include land disputes over artisanal mining sites, artisanal and small-scale mining sites, child labor, migration, prostitution, drug and alcohol abuse, to name a few. Despite the existing legal basis for regulation of artisanal and small-scale mining, implementation of this framework is wanting, resulting in 99% of artisanal and small-scale mining and gold dealings in Bougainville being conducted informally and illegally. Artisanal and small-scale miners are generally operating without government monitoring or support. As such, the artisanal and small-scale mining sector has seen economic leakage along the supply chain, with local adverse social and environment consequences. Obviously, there exist barriers that are preventing formalization of the artisanal and small-scale mining sector. These barriers range from regulatory capacity constraints to existing policy and regulatory framework effectiveness. Mr. Speaker, obviously, the consequent lack of effective regulatory and policy framework have prevented formalization of the artisanal and small-scale mining sector. This, in truth, has made improvements in the livelihoods of miners and their dependent communities. Sorry, Mr. Speaker, let me read that again. This, in turn, has made improvements in the livelihoods of miners and their dependent communities difficult to achieve. Absence of formalization has also made improvements in environmental performance difficult to achieve. Mr. Speaker, I assure the House that strategies to regulate, tax, and intervene in the artisanal and small-scale mining sector are being developed. Policy strategies being developed are aimed to encourage formalization of artisanal and small-scale mining and to reduce the negative impacts. A policy framework for facilitating formalization of the artisanal and small-scale mining sector is to include the introduction of a gold levy as a potential driver for formalization of the artisanal and small-scale mining sector in Bougainville. The gold levy is appealing for two main reasons. One, potential for revenue generation for ABG. Two, provide support to artisanal and small-scale miners to work in a more structured and regulated environment. Only licensed artisanal and small-scale mining operators would be allowed to take gold out of Bougainville ports. Imposing the gold levy provisions together with enforcement of the offenses and penalties provisions will drive artisanal and small-scale miners towards formalizing the activities for fear of their unauthorized or unlawful gold and equipment being seized and forfeited to the government. Mr. Speaker, formalization will not only maximize government revenues, but is also a step towards dealing with the wider socio-economic and environmental impacts of artisanal and small-scale mining. Knowing who the artisanal and small-scale miners are would enable regulators to provide support to these miners to work in a more structured and regulated environment. Formalizing the artisanal and small-scale mining sector would, in a sense, provide a platform for monitoring and supporting activities to licensed artisanal and small-scale miners. Mr. Speaker, I now present on the Manitay Limestone Project. An exploration license called EL06 was granted to Lakeville Miners Limited on the 14th of July 2022 for the conduct of feasibility studies on the former Manitay Limestone Project. For EL06, Quarter 1 saw the presentation of the pre-feasibility studies report by Lakeville Mine Limited to the Ministry and the Department. The pre-feasibility studies report was conducted by an independent engineering company engaged by the Lakeville Mines Limited. As per this report, Manitay Limestone is an economically viable project if developed will contribute to the economic development of Bougainville. Furthermore, Q1 saw a review exercise conducted on the draft land access and compensation agreement with tripartite clans, Manitay Development Corporation and Lakesville Mines Limited. The outcome was a revised finalized draft LACA, or Land Access and Compensation Agreement, accepted by both parties. The Land Access and Compensation Agreement was eventually signed by the parties to the redevelopment of Manitay Limestone project on the 4th of April 2023 in the presence of the ABG, including host member for Evo Torau, Honorable Lawrence Sirapui, Chairman of Central Parliamentary Committee, Honorable Justin Bocha, and his deputy, Honorable Junior Dake, members for Central Veterans. The signing of the Land Access and Compensation Agreement now paves the way for more extensive on-site feasibility works to commence. It is anticipated that Q3 and Q4 of 2023 will see increased on-site activities on the project. Mr. Speaker, the BEC also recently decided to refuse the grant of various types of mineral license applications. This included an application for an exploration license over Evo Torau Torokina areas by Paru Joint Venture Limited, and an application for an artisanal mining license by BHOR Joint Venture Limited. Paru Joint Venture Limited is a joint venture involving Windale and local company Karatapo Resources Limited, while BHOR Joint Venture Limited is a joint venture between Windale and local company BHOR Investment Limited. The BEC's decisions were purely based on the application of law, wherein the applicants failed to meet the application requirements provided for under the Bougainville Mining Act 2015. Mr. Speaker, a key component of the mineral license application approval process includes assessment of the license applications as per the Bougainville Mining Act 2015 and Bougainville Mining Regulations Act, Bougainville Regulations of 2016. These due diligence considerations range from technical work-related aspects to environment-related aspects to community corporate social responsibility constituents to finance and expenditure requirements. Mr. Speaker, it is important for the House to note that the Ministry and the Department have been entrusted with administration of Bougainville's mining laws. If mineral license applications fail to comply with Bougainville laws by not meeting the minimum requirements set in law, then strictly speaking, the law does not allow for those license applications to be granted. Bougainville fought and died for mining powers and functions to be transferred so we can have control of our own mining sector developments. It is therefore imperative that we send out a strong message to investors and pockets of landowners that Bougainville expects the highest standards in terms of investor dealings and mining. Mr. Speaker, as mandated leaders, we have a responsibility towards our resource owners to ensure their rights are upheld, consistent with Section 23, subsection 1 of the Bougainville Constitution. The Bougainville Mining Act 2015 significantly takes into account and recognizes the customary rights of the people of Bougainville in relation to the development of mineral resources. Whereas resource ownership is vested with the state in PNG laws, resource ownership is vested with the customary landowners under the Act in Bougainville. With resource ownership rights, landowners also have far greater participation in the decision-making process and far greater monetary, non-monetary, and local content participation benefits in relation to mineral sector developments. Mr. Speaker, as mandated leaders, we are also answerable to our people. Section 38, subsection 2 of the Bougainville Constitution stipulates that all persons in positions of leadership and responsibility are in their work answerable to the people in accordance with law. This is a key governance value known as accountability. Accountability in government exists when public servants and leaders undertake their work in accordance with the law. Section 38, subsection 3 of the Bougainville Constitution places responsibility on the autonomous Bougainville government to take all lawful measures to ensure accountability in government and to expose and eradicate corruption and abuse or misuse of power. Mr. Speaker, all in all, let us uphold the rights of our people. Let us pursue economic development towards our independence. Let us protect our people from exploitation. Let us be accountable and answerable to the people in accordance with the law. Let us establish Bougainville as a place of high standards. Mr. Speaker, law and order or the lack thereof is an issue that has negatively affected on not only mining but also other economic development initiatives that the ABG has pursued in recent years. I 100% stand behind the Honorable President's commitment to addressing law and order issues in Bougainville. Mr. Speaker, to conclude, we are all aware that an independent Bougainville will need to have the required financial resources to run the affairs of its government and provide services and infrastructure development to its people. Let us pursue a diversified economic base. Let us not make the mistake of PNG and neglect other sectors of the economy in our pursuit of the goal at the end of the rainbow. Let us promote minerals. Let us promote agriculture. Let us promote tourism. Let us promote manufacturing. In that way, when one sector of the economy is down, the other sectors will be in a position to prop up the economy. Mr. Speaker, obviously there is still a lot to be done in the mineral and energy sector. As I have mentioned above, we have our achievements, we also have our challenges. But with limited resources and limited skilled manpower, we can only do so much. But these are challenges that we must face, as we continue to push forward towards independence. Mr. Speaker, I commend the statement to the House, and I thank you for the opportunity to make the statement. Thank you, and God bless Bougainville.
Leader of government business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move that the House take note of the statement and the debate of the statement be adjourned to a later date.
Honorable members, the question is that the House take note of the paper and that the debate, the statement be adjourned to a subsequent sitting. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. Any more statements? I call on the Minister for DPI and Fisheries.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me this time to present my department's 2023 quarterly performance report to this honorable House. Mr. Speaker, the Department of Primary Industry and Marine Resources has three functional responsibility to plan, deliver, and regulate the industry development in agriculture, livestock, forestry sector, fishery, and marine resources. Having ministerial oversight over the department with an array of functional responsibility that operates under severe manpower and funding constraint, but it is able to achieve performance results like the ones I will be highlighting today. My ministry and the department's motto is "Walk must go ahead regardless of the circumstances." Mr. Speaker, the performance outcomes I'm about to expound on clearly shows that we can achieve what we must if we focus and commit even under trying circumstances. The key outcomes of the ministry and the department's effort for 2023 and 2022 follows: policy and legislation development. So under the fishery sector, the review of the Bougainville Fishery Management Act has been done. Mr. Speaker, the Bougainville Fishery Management Act 2020 has been reviewed with presentation of findings made to the Senior Economic Sector Management Team. The Act needed to be reviewed to address the need for proper institutional arrangement for effective management and regulations of the fishery sector in Bougainville. The review has proposed the establishment of the Bougainville Fishery Management Authority. The authority will have its board and will work under the provision of the Bougainville Fishery Act for the interest of Bougainville government. Mr. Speaker, the review also notes the flaws in interpretation of terms and other legal provision that will support the regulation of the sector in the areas where the national jurisdiction still applies. These are seen in areas of having understanding and agreement with the national government and preparing fisheries sector for economic independence. With the support of the economic sector technical team, a draft amendment bill is in place and it will be shared with public during the planned region-wide public consultation. We anticipate to present a bill to this Honourable House in the third quarter session after it will go through regional wilder consultation. Development plan for management plan for specific fishery. Mr. Speaker, development of tools to ensure that there is effective management in our fishery sector is critical as well. As the Directorate of Fishery gradually develops its capacity, it is also now developing its management plan. The two plans that are in draft are mud crab fishery management plan, it's in draft, and then the Beshtima fishery management plan. These two coastal fisheries are lucrative and has high commercial value. Mr. Speaker, the two management plans are completed and awaiting passing of the fishery bill in the third quarter session to align the management plan with the new Fishery Act and regulation. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of DPI and the Department of Primary Industry through Fishery Directorate is now planning to workshop review of the National Fishery Authority Fisheries MOU, which will be elevated to MOA of 2021. The MOU has lapped its review term, with few of the activities within the MOU has been captured through the Fishery Work Plan of 2021, 2022, and 2023. The proposed workshop review is planned for August this year. Mr. Speaker, under Section 86 of BPA, Bougainville Peace Agreement, both governments agreed that revenue generated by fishery activities in waters associated with Bougainville waters must be shared based on the formula using the prescribed derivation cost list. Mr. Speaker, this agenda is a long outstanding which technical team from the national government and the autonomous Bougainville have been working on ever since. Mr. Speaker, in an attempt to resolve this matter, Fishery Technical Working Group agreed in 2019 to outsource a consultancy firm, which a term of reference was signed to engage as a consultant. NFA used the signed term of reference and outsourced MREG in 2020. Mr. Speaker, on the 22nd of October 2022, the ABG-NFA Joint Technical Team, which was especially formed to deliberate on this matter, ensure that the matter be resolved, reviewed the MREG report and noted that the MREG was unable to determine benefit sharing formula that was suited for the purpose because of the circumstances beyond its expert capability. The Joint Work Technical Team group resorted to using its best effort to resolve this matter genuinely through a mutual consensus, thus agreeing that 15% of the total fishery revenue generated by the national government through NFA be allocated to the ABG, and that 15% is actually based against the net profit, which last year NFA been earning about 2 billion net profit. So we were asking for that 15% against that one. Mr. Speaker, this issue will now be tabled at the National Executive Council, National Executive Council at the National Parliament, Executive Council, and will be sponsored by the National Fishery Minister and our regional member as per the advice from NFA Minister and our regional member. There's a joint submission that we worked on last week and a couple of weeks ago in Port Moresby by the National Fishery Minister and ABG, and the following recommendation to NEC are as follows. A, we acknowledge that the joint effort of ABG and NFA through the Joint Technical Working Group to resolve long overdue matters pertaining to Part E, Clause 85 to 88 of the 2001 Bougainville Peace Agreement and Section 325 of the National Constitution. Also approve that the waters associated with Bougainville for the purpose of determining fishery revenue sharing arrangement under the Bougainville Peace Agreement and Part XIV of the National Constitution be defined by Schedule 1 of the Organic Law on Provincial Boundaries, with an equidistant western boundaries between Bougainville, Million Bay Province, East New Britain Province, and New Ireland Province, and a southern boundary based on the Solomon Island Maritime Boundary Treaty, in line with the advice of the Solicitor General. The Annex A is actually attached with that submission. Approves and directs that 4,000 vessel days be immediately allocated to the exclusive use of ABG. D, NEC approves for a minimum of 4 tuna fishing license to be issued to the ABG and made immediately operational. And then E, NEC approves that an ABG representation must be appointed to the NFA board with immediate effect. Also, NEC directs that the ABG be represented at all future international fishery access negotiation, and directs that an information paper for leaders to be prepared for the next JSB meeting scheduled to take place. Sorry, I think the date has been changed, but to take place at the date for the JSB to be approved. So these were the information that we actually put together for our National Fishery Minister to sponsor at the NEC. I am yet to get an update from them whether that has been done or not yet. Bougainville Water Survey, Mr. Speaker, the Bougainville Coastal Water Survey begins the work on mapping out our baseline and coastal waters, or 3 nautical mile. Having the baseline in place enables us to mark out our maritime zone in future. This survey implements those provisions in the National Maritime Zone Act 2015, which seeks to correct the incomplete lines and technical errors of boundaries drawn under the National Seas Act. Bougainville is the first region under our autonomous government out of the 12 maritime provinces in Papua New Guinea to have the survey conducted. Mr. Speaker, the survey will be conducted with the support from the organizations such as the South Pacific Community, National Maritime Safety Authority, Department of Justice, and Attorney General with National Fishery. Bougainville administration will provide technical support and also support in liaison with local communities. Preliminary activities have started with community awareness in the community that are host to the 27 reference imaginary points in Bougainville. The full survey will take place here in Bougainville in the month of July. Mr. Speaker, the survey will provide coordinates to indicate Bougainville baseline that will directly identify Bougainville internal waters and Bougainville coastal waters. Furthermore, a hydrographic survey will be conducted during this survey program and will give us the benefit of identifying areas along Bougainville coast that can best serve as ports and harbors for shipping, trade, economic opportunities. For instance, the Augusta Bay that will host the Bana Free Trade Zone. Mr. Speaker, I call on the support of each of us constituency members and community leaders to assist the technical officers when they visit your constituencies. Aquaculture baseline survey. Mr. Speaker, while concentrating on the coastal fisheries, the department also is mindful of the freshwater fishery and farm fishery. From the Honorable House to know that the Fishery Directorate has carried out the aquaculture baseline survey to collect data of fish farmers to inform development of Bougainville aqua policy. Just listening to Minister Mining's statement and the use of mercury, it's quite scary. So maybe we should start thinking about coming up with fish farm to avoid all the mercuries in the sea as well too. Just saying that, thank you. So seaweed commercialization project. Mr. Speaker, seaweed farm has history in Bougainville and Million Bay as the first regions in PNG to farm seaweed. Fishery Directorate has rolled out the seaweed program by supplying seaweed nurseries materials to Atolls Nissan as the targeted population for the program. Currently, Cutrets has been supplying seaweeds cuttings to nurseries in Uguria and Nissan. Motlock and Tasman will be supplied in our second phase program materials delivery. A potential buyer showing keen interest in buying seaweed at 3 kina per kilo. The buyer wished to export 10 to 12 containers per export. Lodgement of the exporter's buyer's license application has been put forward to Fishery Board for consideration to issue of the license. We haven't approved that license yet. So, Mr. Speaker, the challenge and issues faced in this project is basically none other than shipping services. Transporting the seaweed product from atolls to Nisan to Buka need cargo ships like MV JMC, or yes, we can actually probably give life to MV Tulele to do this program. Mud crab fattening training. Mr. Speaker, in terms of the mud crab fishery, an on-end training for mud crab farming and fattening was successfully conducted at Tonsu constituencies in January 2023. A total of 30 participants across Bougainville took part in that training. In terms of monitoring, compliance, and surveillance, Mr. Speaker, this activity was undertaken to get the opinion and response from local coastal and island communities in North and Central Bougainville about introducing a toll-free hotline number to enable reporting of illegal, unregulated, unreported fishing and related activities directly to the Fishery Office. The program was carried out in consultation with community wards members from randomly selected coastal villages and island communities that usually report fishing vessel sightings and illegal harvesting of Beshtimir and related activities in the region. Mr. Speaker, the response to the awareness survey of the toll-free hotline number generated much positive feedback. So the report was submitted to the National Fishery Authority because it was their program. Further talks between NFA, ABG Fisheries, and Digital PNG is still to come to set up the toll-free hotline for Arab monitoring and surveillance program. So all of you that are doing illegal fishery, you will be pretty much observed by the public, so the public will be reporting you through the system. Mr. Speaker, this awareness was conducted in Momarego Village, Makirai Ward, Baba constituency of Bana District, in South Bougainville. This awareness was triggered by the unusual death of sea cucumbers and the illegal fishing and related activities that was reported to the DPI office, Mineral Resources Directorate. The unusual death of sea cucumbers in the area has been reported to the National Fishery for them to come and assist in conducting an environmental assessment survey in the area. Compliance assessment on foreign fishing, namely vessel Viva Lalai 707 in Feed Island. Mr. Speaker, the Fishery Monitoring, Compliance and Surveillance team was part of the response team that responded to the fishing vessel that went around in Sebo, that was grounded in Sebo Reef, Feed Island in the Atolls constituency. Mr. Speaker, the report was compiled, was submitted to the National Fishery and the Office of Chief Secretary for Arab. The National Fishery has planned a mission to the ship to conduct the final environmental assessment on the bridge FFV. The mission team will comprise of officers from NFA, SIPA, PNG, RC, ABG, Fisheries. I think they probably did that trip already. Monitoring and surveillance mission in coastal areas and islands in central Bougainville. Mr. Speaker, this exercise was part of the unit surveillance and enforcement activities to central Bougainville. The idea behind the activity was to make sure that there is presence of fishery enforcement officers in central region where there is continuous report of illegal trade of Beshtimir fishery product to the Solomon Island. Illegal trade of fishery products to the Solomon Island has become norm in Bougainville, which need to be addressed. Bougainville will lose potential revenue generated from fishery product through this illegal trade if people continue to do this. And what I'd like to do is also ask this House to bear with me, because I know everyone is asking when the Beshtimir season will be open. It is important that we put the system in place so it helps us to generate revenue for ABG. Capacity building, Mr. Speaker, the Tinputs Technical College is to offer fishery training under the current NFA-ABG agreement. Mr. Speaker, a fully kitted duplex to accommodate fishery officers at Kubu was opened on the 24th, and the building of 2 staff at fishery is also completed as well too. We are proposing to put 1 classroom for the fisheries training and looking at either October, October to roll out the training. There is a shortage of classroom to accommodate the students if training was to happen at TVET. Also, there's a plan to put in the ministry. In the ministry, the department is also in process of establishing women in fishery to accommodate especially for women in atolls and South Bougainville and Central Bougainville as well too. The terms of reference and job description and an outcome-based development strategies have been drafted, and the ministry will be implementing this project in the near future. In partnership, sorry, I haven't mentioned it, but in partnership with the Bougainville Women's Federation. On the forestry sector, we are still working with the pending PNG Forestry Authority MOA. At the same time, the forestry development plans and strategies, again, we're still yet to sign the MOA with them. Also, I would like to mention, and it's not in my statement, we have completed the Blue-Green Economic Assessment in ABG in partnership with the Lands Department. This program was supported by EU and National Planning, in partnership with the National Planning Department. And an expert with 30 years of experience was engaged, and a consultation was carried out throughout the region. And this green-blue economic assessment will then help us to develop the green and blue economy policy for Bougainville. I'll go through this one. Also, I think most of this has been highlighted, only progress in discontinuing Tonole project due to the landowners' discordance. All the other projects in the pipeline, including Balsa, will now follow suit. So I think I've raised some of the answers to that one, and both my Minister for Commerce and I have actually given feedback on the plans for Balsa project, and these are some of the things that we are working on. On the agriculture side, BHOR Act 2020 and BHOR regulation, Mr. Speaker, the Act has been further amended to suit, so we have, as of last year, has approved. The regulations has been approved by BAC, and the amended BHOR has gone through the Parliament. Mr. Speaker, sorry, this is just for the cocoa regulation alone, not for the other commodities. The other commodities are still pending. Mr. Speaker, the BHOR Trust account was established on the 20th of December for this purpose. Cocoa Board has made the first payment of partial 70% of 85,000 for the benefit sharing. Eleven Export has been one of the cocoa exporters to pay their levies, and they've paid 10,000 already, 15,700 on the 5th of May and 21,000 on the 24th of May, so they are yet to do another payment as well. Sankamap Export has already done that. 6,300 levy fee has been paid on the 31st of 2023. Other exporters, including AGMAC and CPL, we followed up with them, and they have actually, according to AGMAC's record, they have already made a payment of 210,000 kina into the trust account. So we're looking at almost 300,000 kina has already been collected from the cocoa levy fees. And this is an example that is showing that when regulations and frameworks are in place, people will comply when we put the laws, and no one will actually have excuse not to, avoid not to do any, put revenues for ABG. Sector policy development and sector plan. Bougainville fish food security policy. Sorry, I think there's a bit of a, with the printing. So basically the Bougainville food security has been approved. We are currently working on the strategic and work plan to be completed. Once it actually is completed, we will then start, once we have the activities completed, it will support the policy, and we will look for funding to carry out the food security policy program throughout Bougainville. Mr. Speaker, we are also working with, to develop the Bougainville livestock policy, and it's currently underway with the development of its framework, and will be workshop later in the year with the support of the Livestock Development Corporation. The conversation that we are having with livestock at the moment is actually programs to roll out cattle farming, and what we're doing is we're currently working with KIK to do the program, so farmers can actually farm their coconut and at the same time have cattle grazing underneath their coconut. Development project and program that was last year, the Rorinang Agriculture Technical School project. Mr. Speaker, the project was approved on the 27th of May 2022. DPI and technical services have worked together. They did a physical visit and went down to the site and visited it. ABG has committed 1 million per year for 3 years to support the 2023 for the project was supposed to be rolled out. I am yet to receive a report as to in terms of what's the progress so far in terms of the mobilization and what administration have done to support the project so far. Underneath the coconut industry, Mr. Speaker, Farmers training and extension work by KIK officers continues in the region. Over 120 tons of white copra was exported out of Bougainville. Bougainville has now become the highest producers of white copra across PNG. 40 tons of non-export quality white copra procured to help white copra farmers develop and sold locally. Mr. Speaker, cocoa extension and high-valued coconut product training plan for 2023 is extended to Suir, Kunua, Tinputs, and Kieta district this year. White copra export out of Kieta is also planned for this year. 500,000 has been budgeted by ABG for the 2023 Arab Coconut Program. Activity plan for this program has been completed, awaiting funding. Also, ongoing support with KIK. They will provide their own funding to support the program this year, whether it's in infrastructure or with the training. Interest in high-valued coconut product is very high in the region. Individuals and groups increasing the production of VCO, and I can attest to a good minister for Europe leading the sole production within Euro. This is also something that is going on in the region. Coconut meal, body oil. Mr. Speaker, assistance with packaging and labeling and pricing and market access is needed by farmers and SME in the sector. This has been taken note of in 2023 Coconut Program Activity Plan. KIK has also agreed to renovate the old CCI building at Kubu and use it as the regional coconut program office to assist us with the program of coconut industry in Bougainville. Pristine coconut meal, we have, in reference to ABG's interest, we have actually spoken to them, Mr. Speaker. Dialogue has already commenced with owners of the New Britain Palm Oil Limited in March and June this year, this month as well too, for shareholding of Pristine Copra Mill. Discussions have been positive and fruitful with the inclusion of coconut industry for possible collaborating partnerships. So with Pristine 101, we are having discussions for them to actually either go into white copra purchasing, also even to the point of talking to them to ensure that the meal that they are producing over there is converted to stock feed, so we are able to feed our livestock. Mr. Speaker, other meetings also include livestock development cooperation on cattle ranching and food formulation. In regards to ACAR, Mr. Speaker, Bougainville once again won the most prestigious Global Cocoa Excellence Award in 2022. Through this project, putting the region on the global cocoa map. The Arab has been asked to participate again in this year's competition. Mr. Speaker, trial production and sales of high-value downstream cocoa products like cocoa powder, butter, and chocolate is continuing and slowly gaining popularity and interest. Mr. Speaker, this was a 3-year project funded under the Bougainville Partnership Program. This is the BHOR office and the cocoa testing lab. This project is now complete. The facility was opened in February. It houses 4 office testing lab, a conference room, storage area, a car park, a loading bay, disabled access ramp, standby genset, and a solar power system. The lab will be used to test cocoa and cocoa-based products initially. Mr. Speaker, the tests are aimed primarily at meeting globally phytosanitary, food safety, and health standard. And we can probably end up including testing for all other cash crop like vanilla and also copra as well too. I'll jump to point number 7. You can read the rest. Mr. Speaker, in regards to the pipeline project that is at the initial discussion stage, the Bougainville Economic Corridor project. So one of the things that I actually did as a policy submission to the Bougainville Economic Corridor is to look for fundings and support to actually support the agriculture industry in Bougainville. And we've worked on the program, even coming up with the structure and also talking to our Bougainville friends to look at ways to support the industry. The Bougainville Economic Corridor not only looks at the micro activity, but it also looks at macro activity. Now, Yumi Tok Loape, every time we're talking about things, putting things in place to support the economic activity blooming inside the constituencies. The Bougainville Economic Corridor pretty much invite him all things and highlight the issue that we need to have electricity in place. We need to have road that will actually support the farmers to bring their cocoa from the mountains to the buying point. We need to have wharves in place at Torokina and other places in the Atolls Island so that it makes it easier and accessible for for our farmers to sell their products. So all those things are actually covered underneath the Bougainville Economic Corridor project. So I should be presenting an update to the council when we have some of the things in place. Microeconomic stimulus package is also one of the projects that I've done through the policy BEC Council has approved, and this is to work with the rural program, and it's also in partnership with the national government underneath the DIRD that I'm having ongoing communication with them, because they have a micro PF or PID office there that actually deal with all these sort of things. So hopefully they will assist us with any of the, if we once get the funding and the funding is parked underneath the Bougainville Economic Corridor trust account. Regional Livestock Development Project, there's ongoing conversation. Even the National Cattle Freighting Project, we're looking at it. So the idea is, well, in part, we've already had sort of like a conversation with member for Torokina and Torokina office to see if Torokina can be one of the breeding place to host the livestock breeding cattle farm over there that can be distributed to our farmers. And also, Pristine 101, a conversation is going on with them, and Bougainville Chocolate Factory. Capacity building, Mr. Speaker, the National Department of Agriculture Livestock will support capacity building as part of the implementation power functions of DPI through policy development, human resource training, and other institutional strengthening support through an MOA or listed activity schedule. The MOA in final draft form will be shared with the Department of Law and Justice for vetting, with signing to take place in July. Mr. Speaker, another partnership in progress with DPI and Coffee Industry Corporation, CIC, is we're looking at engaging with the coffee farmers and make coffee become another cash crop in Bougainville, because there are a lot of them growing up in Kongara, Wakunai, Tinputs that are not being on sale. So this is also one of our cash crop that we're looking at assisting farmers up in the mountain. Coconut extension training for DPI offices, Mr. Speaker. The DPI offices attended various KIK training sessions on extension, so they are now currently helping to roll out the program. Mr. Speaker, 2 DPI offices will short training this year, one on a chocolate making. We've already sent them down to Australia, and they're doing the training, and they're back already. PACD desk, we've actually establishing partnership with the Productive Agriculture Commercial Development, to asking them to have a desk within the department. That is already something that we're working in establishing once the project has been rolled out. We already have a FAO desk. There's someone that represents the International Food and Agriculture Office is also within DPI office. Coconut Industry Corporation, we also have the offices already working over here. We also have a Bougainville desk that sits in the National Department of Agriculture and Livestock that are helping us, but they specifically, the concentration is around pushing the agenda for the Bougainville Department of Primary Industry. Underneath the district infrastructure improvement, Mr. Speaker, district infrastructure across the region is over 20 years. Funding constraint has restricted department's routine maintenance effort. With some RDG funding recently, prioritized improvements are possible on DPI infrastructure facilities at Buin and Konga Station recently. So we have a Konga Station office that has been completed, even housing for Buin as well too, partially completed. And it's glad to note that this year's supplementary budget is actually being provided to assist with the district support as well too. Mr. Speaker, this brings to the end my ministerial update for the period, especially first and second quarter of my department performance today. Thank you.
Our leader of government business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move that the House take note of the statement and debate of the statement be adjourned to a later date.
No members, the question is that the Parliament take note of the statement by the Minister and that debate be adjourned to a subsequent sitting. Those in favor say aye. Against say no. The ayes have it. Honorable Minister for Technical Services.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Honorable President and Vice President, Honorable Ministers, and fellow members of Parliament. I have great pleasure in presenting a brief update on the Department of Technical Services, Transport, Power, and ICT operational status and progress in the implementation of ABG's rebuilding and reconstruction programs and projects throughout the autonomous region of Bougainville from period January 2022 to June 2023. As you are well aware, Mr. Speaker, the usual funding availability has been a challenging factor in our work delivery. However, I commend the usual tireless efforts put in by our department staff in delivering projects in such difficult circumstances. To indicate the magnitude of projects DTS is responsible for in 2023 and carry forward projects from way back as 2021. All department projects were worth around 350 million kina. Mr. Speaker, I also commend the various departments and other stakeholders who have cooperated well with my department in ensuring that most programs, projects, and services are delivered as planned for and for the benefit of the citizens of Bougainville, despite the challenges. Status on department affairs. Mr. Speaker, the Technical Services Department, as well as other departments, continues to struggle with staff capacity issues, but current staff on strength have performed to the best of their abilities to roll out a number of reasonable portfolio of projects despite financial and capacity impediments experienced by the department and ABG as a whole. Currently, up to the first quarter of 2023, the department has total positions of 87, a staff on strength of only 28, and vacancies of 59 positions, with a staff on strength of 28 spread across the 4 regions, with approximately 350 million kina of infrastructure projects to manage and supervise is anybody's imagination. With such a mismatch in capacity to adequately manage and supervise projects of such value, the department restructure has somewhat been a slow progress to resolve such issues. Considering that as urgent, the department has temporarily engaged qualified personnel to priority positions on acting basis, and I strongly seek your understanding and support on that. However, the processes and conditions to award officers for their services is so lengthy and slow. Furthermore, my department has had to deal with serious disciplinary offenders who must be removed immediately once identified and confirmed. That, however, has not been the case because our management and disciplinary process are cumbersome and somewhat protects crooks who are given space to torment innocent officers. The ABG Public Service Management Act must be relooked sooner to forego or resolve many loopholes. With many of the current deficiencies in the current DTS operations, we have identified the need to set up regional regular maintenance teams that are included in the restructure. Their roles will be to regularly repair and maintain provincial and district roads, including buildings at their regions. The Department of Technical Service implements various projects funded under the government of PNG, national members, autonomous Bougainville government, and other sources and development partners. Most of the projects include roads, buildings, educational facilities, health facilities, bridges, community water supply systems, etc. Mr. Speaker, the Department of Technical Services is also very much concerned that the awarding of projects to contractors must not be done without funding availability. This trend has always put the lives of DTS officers and office properties at the receiving end from tax and concerned contractors who do work without funding. Mr. Speaker, the outstanding syndrome legacy must be resolved as soon as possible and once and for all to ensure workflow on current work plans and beyond are implemented at least trouble-free. Significant projects achieved and in progress. Mr. Speaker, out of the many infrastructure projects rolled out under different programs, I will highlight a few significant projects achieved which would impact upon the lives of Bougainvilleans in the long run. Buka Ring Road Stage 3. Mr. Speaker, the 20-kilometer of the Buka Ring Road, John's Teosin Highway upgrade and sealing has at last been completed in August 2021, after having been restarted on 11th of November 2019 by contractor Rybro Construction Limited from Hagus in the Halia constituency and ending at Pitono in Haku constituency. The construction and sealing works took 18 months to implement. The road has recently been commissioned, handed over to ABG on the 26th of June 2023 by the National Minister for Works and Highways and myself. Having completed the works in August 2021, the contractor, however, is still owed an outstanding contractual monies of some 3 million kina. Stage 4 of the Buka Ring Road have been awarded to Chomik at moving by BEC, but unfortunately been delayed to start as I speak for more than a month now after signing of the contract due to the contractor's lack of capacity to mobilize to site. There is a lot of concern from our Haku leadership and communities as they are denied the expected development. Upgrade and sealing of Kira to Buin Trunk Road. Mr. Speaker, the current Kira to Toimanabu Road upgrade and sealing by Dekanai was physically progressed to 42%, and the Kangu Beach to Toimanabu Road upgrade and sealing by Kovek is physically progressing at 38.5% as of July 2022. Both national government-funded projects have been progressing at a slow pace according to payment of their progressive claims and social disputes by disgruntled villagers. Both projects have now been terminated by Department of Works and Highways, and preparations are in motion to retender the projects by next month. Sierra to Korobowi West Coast Trunk Road. Mr. Speaker, I believe the Department of Works is arranging to tender 5 contracts to do maintenance work on the Sierra Korobowi Road in the near future. With that opportunity, more should be done on that part of the region to provide better access to our communities, to access public services and bring their products to markets. Patrol grading and spot patching works is awaiting awarding of 3 contracts by Bougainville Supply and Tenders Board before signing with the contractors. Kunua West Coast bridges. Mr. Speaker, the bridges for the North-West Coast depends largely on the progress on the Sierra Korobowi Road rehabilitation progress. The road access condition as done in 2021 by the 5 local contractors is still not conducive for work on the bridges to proceed, but as soon as work progresses for the patrol grading and spot patching progresses, construction of the bridges will also progress. There is also the design and construction of 30 meters mobile bridge and design and construction of 30-meter Nagam Bridge that is awaiting awarding of the contracts by Bougainville Supplies and Tenders Board. Bougainville Economic Feeder Roads. Mr. Speaker, most of our districts need better roads to have better access to cash crops and provide convenience to our communities. The funding climate in 2022 and 2023, as we are all aware, has not been favorable to us. Many feeder roads have been identified for improvement, but the unavailability of funds just have not made that possible. You may have been lucky if your areas have been funded under DSIP funds from our national members. It is worth mentioning that work was progressed on the Kieda District Feeder Road Siang, Rorainang, Buin District Feeder Road, Hole Maileu Access Road, Kuku Ramu Pan Koiso Road, upgrade and maintenance, and the Atamo emergency pavement works. If any leaders request further information on these works, please consult with my department officers. Building projects, Mr. Speaker. For the building projects, it is worth to highlight the status of the following. The Arawa School of Nursing all-in-one facility is awaiting final inspection and commissioning. 5 staff houses for Arawa School of Nursing have been completed this year and handed over to the college. The Tanamalo dormitory and ablution has progressed to 95%. The Bana police station has progressed to 70%. The Kieta police station and Bana police duplex are at a mobilization stage. Procurement of materials to complete the 6 staff houses for Bougainville Technical College is in progress. The survey for the Kunwa Level 3 Hospital has been completed, and the concept design and survey for the Tiaroki Level 3 Health Center has been done and is awaiting finalization from the Lands Department. Survey for the Buin Teachers College has been completed and awaiting registration before design concept is developed. There are about 13 building projects awaiting awarding of contracts by BSTB before signing with the contractors. Most of the projects are in the design and survey stage. Costing and tendering stages. A detailed listing or more details can be obtained from the department. Capacity building, Mr. Speaker. The Department of Technical Services has and continues to work closely with its partners. The Department of Works and CADNO, now DT Global, who manage the OSAID Transport and Support Services Program, TSSP. With assistance and support from DT Global, we progress several work-related trainings and presentations for staff and contractors, and this is an ongoing exercise by our concerned partner. Mr. Speaker, as highlighted in my opening remarks, DTS is understaffed, and there is a mismatch in the ratio of responsible staff to budgeted projects. We are unable to urgently mitigate such shortfall as ABG recruitment process is cumbersome, if I may add. For example, you delegate us to do this much work, so we have to find temporary engagement of qualified officers to get DTS on the timeline of projects. And what happens? We have 6 officers who are on acting basis but are yet to receive allowances. Other projects within the department's responsibility. Mr. Speaker, the rural electrification program along Buka is complete up to Hagagoe constituency, and that should see it extend to Halia constituency, and surely the extension is in progress. The Kumul submarine fiber optic cable has already been landed in Arawa by Datacor, and the contractor also needs to extend this back to Buka. Mr. Speaker, complete installation of this infrastructure will hopefully enable better quality and effective communication and internet use for us. The Office of Department of Technical Services is in dialogue with Datacor for possible expansion of the submarine cable to Buka and a possible access link through the Solomon's Taro Island. A better design is in progress with my department. Joint managed projects. Mr. Speaker, for projects jointly supervised and managed by DTS and Department of Works, the Department of Technical Service would like to briefly update on what has transpired during the Department of Works and Highways Minister, Honorable Solan Mirisim, and his secretary's visit to Bougainville on Monday, the 26th June 2023. The Department of Works Minister and his team visited the Bukarin Road and commissioned the Agus to Pitono section. During his visit, resolutions and commitments were made by 2 governments. The DOWH would look after all national roads in Bougainville as per past demarcations done. ABG will look after sub-national and district roads. The national roads are Boca to Morgan, Junction Road, Bougainville Trunk Road, Alva Road, Banglarin Road, and Bukarin Road. Policies and regulatory frameworks. Mr. Speaker, my department progresses with its mandates for independence readiness. It would be expected to develop and operationalize all its functions and duties. However, it is just not possible, as DTS encompasses, say, 6 ministries, as I have previously highlighted in my other addresses. Currently, my ministry and department, unfortunately, does not have a specific officer who can engage to develop many of our important policies and regulations. The only unattached personnel we engage on working on our policies has left. My ministry and department are, however, working on progressing to develop some of our priority policies like the transport and electricity policies until such time we engage a specific policy officer. The department is also doing some initial work on its corporate plan that should be aligned to the ABG's revised integrated strategic development plan. Mr. Speaker, while I make this presentation to the House, I am happy to inform you that DTS is also closely working with consultants from DFED's TSSP program to develop Bougainville's very important 15 years transport strategic master plan document. I cannot thank enough the Australians' continuous assistance and support to Bougainville and specifically to my department. This strategic document, once completed, hopefully this year, is owned by my ministry and department. I therefore seek all department support and contribution in formulating this masterpiece document of ours. It will be the guide to our socio-economic development and connecting all sector developments, including human development. Concluding remarks, Mr. Speaker, while building up technical manpower has been slower than expected, the Department of Technical Services, I believe, has done well in its achievements considering the ever-present challenges, dangers, and intimidation faced every day by officers of the department. The department has lost all its work vehicles to thugs or criminals. The last project vehicle was stolen in 2018, but we have slowly worked to add several vehicles back to the department. Without vehicles, it is very difficult to supervise and monitor projects in the field. However, this will not deter our officers carry out their duty-bound responsibilities. The late former national member for North Bougainville did recognize the expertise within the Department of Technical Services, and his electoral office has been and continues to work closely with Department of Technical Services. The same is also mentioned for our regional member. Mr. Speaker, while the department would like to take an active role in the whole region, lack of logistic support has hindered this intention, and DTS can only do so much as projects and developments can only be carried out when funds are made available. In concluding remarks, Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank the Autonomous Bougainville government under the stewardship of our President, Honorable Ismail Torama, fellow members of Parliament and BEC, people of Bougainville, other ABG departments, and our overseas development partners in their cooperation with the Department of Technical Services in the rollout of our infrastructure programs and projects. The Department of Technical Services looks forward to the same working relationship throughout the years and beyond as Bougainville develops and advances throughout post-referendum to be independent ready. Thank you and God bless.
Honorable Minister for Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move that the House take note of the statement by the Minister and that the debate of the statement can be referred to data date. Thank you.
Honorable members, question also me take note lo display ministerial statement lo minister na imyachanim debate igolon rapla time. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. Minister for Health.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker, Honorable President, my fellow distinguished members of Parliament. On this occasion, I am privileged to give an update to this Honorable House on the current status of the health sector from my last update in March of this year and the priorities that the department will be focusing on in the near future. Mr. Speaker, before I go on to report on the activities of the department over the last 3 months, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the President, the Finance Minister, and the BEC for allocating additional funds to the Health Department in the supplementary budget, which was a major recommendation as outlined in the Health Services Inquiry Report. I would like to thank the Parliamentary Committee on Health and Education and the staff for a successful inquiry on the health sector and the recommendations which now form the basis on the way forward planning for the department in the coming months. I believe with the increase in the funding for health, we'll make some improvements at the primary health care level. I would like to take time to clarify any recurring issue that affect issues of health service quality in terms of operational performance of the department as highlighted in the inquiry report, which is ongoing debate of AROP's performance against indicators. Mr. Speaker, health indicators are a benchmark and are used to measure the performance of the PNG and AROP health system and address the important factors of health that impact major causes of death and disease in PNG and AROP and help the nation focus their resources and efforts to improve the health well-being of the people. In PNG, there are 29 main health indicators that are reported and monitored for ranking the performance of a province's health system, which have been selected based on health issues, representative of the PNG population, available sources, and anticipated users. There are 4 categories of health indicators. 1, mobility indicators are designed to measure the occurrence of diseases, injuries, and disabilities in a population. 2, mortality indicators are used to quantify health problems as well as to monitor health priorities and goals. 3, behavioral risk factor indicators, which measure behavioral risk factors associated with lifestyle that later can progress into disease. And the 4th type of health indicator are health services indicators, which measure quality of health services in terms of structure, human resources, and organizational structure. For PNG and AROP, health system as a third world with limited resources, we measure and place emphasis largely on mobility and mortality indicators with a few health services indicators. It is my wish, Mr. Speaker, that we as a House continue to support and encourage the Health Department in the good gains they have or it has achieved given limited resources and work with them or work with the department to further take on other desired health indicators that we as a collective in this region would like to be taken on board following resourcing assistance. Mr. Speaker, within the last 3 months of April to June, the Department of Health has steadily progressed into its busiest time of the year, with the department currently juggling several programs or priorities concurrently. It is therefore my pleasure to present the overall performance, program achievements, and challenges observed in the 3 months, and inform this Honorable House that our plans for the remaining months of the year. About our plans for the remaining months of the year. Mr. Speaker, I believe you and the other members, the older members of this Honorable House are fully aware of the current administrative situation of the ABG Department of Health, whereby Dr. Rulin Pokote, the Acting Deputy Secretary for Public Health and Clinical Services, is currently acting in the seat of the Secretary for Health, whilst the substantive holder, Mr. Clement Totabun, is on suspension, effective from the 17th of May of this year. It is hoped that with the suspended Secretary for Health having undergone interview with the principal investigator of the Board of Inquiry as of last Wednesday, the 14th of June, completion of the final phases of the investigations can be resolved quickly within the given 3-month period, so that progressing of the priorities and developments of the department currently underway can continue unhindered. Mr. Speaker, under the Family Health Services Program, currently throughout PNG, all provincial health authorities plus ABG Department of Health implementing the supplementary immunization activity, or SIA, on measles, rubella, polio, and vitamin A. This strategy is being undertaken because nationally PNG's immunization coverage rate is below 50%, though for ARO, in its individual performance last year in 2022, as previously mentioned in this House, has achieved an immunization coverage of 77% for pentavalent and 63% for measles rubella. This program is set to run for 5 weeks, and despite AROP largely being in its second week of implementation, as it commenced its implementation later than other provinces, it has already reached 36.5% coverage for measles, rubella, and vitamin A, and 37.3% coverage for pentavalent, similar to 8 other provinces that have started their implementation earlier than ARO. However, these results are not complete, as there is still a lot of underreporting and data recording inconsistencies that need to be sorted amongst the health facilities, which the supervisors will be following up with this week. We are pleased that 6 individual health facilities have already reached above the 50 to 80% of their targets, and therefore we expect the other remaining health facilities as well to quickly pick up over the remaining 3 weeks of the campaign. Mr. Speaker, in my previous address to this House, I had mentioned the department's initiatives to engage in partnerships to address NCDs, or non-communicable diseases, in AROP. One such partnership is with the Bougainville SDA Church, who has come on board in partnering with the ABG Department of Health to facilitate health promotion activities. The church is organized next week for a senior specialist medical officer, Dr. Jones, who is already here, who is an obstetric and gynecologist, and is currently the acting coordinator of the obstetric and gynecologist division of the Port Moresby General Hospital, to conduct a series of health lifestyle advocacy sessions, which he is well known for conducting. He will be speaking via radio, public spaces, and to target groups, including the ABG public servants. And these sessions will also include health screening for interested individuals. The church is also set to pilot in August the 10,000 Toes campaign, in which community members will be trained to do health assessments, to do blood, to test for blood sugar levels, high blood pressure, and body mass index, and will give counseling on adopting healthy lifestyle and refer to hospital individuals requiring further medical management. This campaign's activities involves one of the basic tools of preventative medicine that can enable individuals' risk to be identified early, leading to interventions that can treat or reverse disease progression, avoiding disease progression to complications. Mr. Speaker, in regard to our communicable disease control programs, our TB, HIV, STI, and malaria programs have all made great progress this year in establishing or strengthening community-based networks that will enable our department to have an even more increased reach to our more rural populations to both monitor and contain disease spread, and at the same time treat those vulnerable populations who are plagued by this disease. Some of these networks include reviving contact tracing activities with BHCP members, the training of community malaria volunteers for malaria management, and the utilizing the Catholic Church health networks for increasing coverage of services for HIV and STI. Also, under the communicable disease program, we are currently working to engage and secure support from WHO for this program, and will meet with the Western Pacific Regional Director of Communicable Disease this week when they arrive in PNG. Mr. Speaker, in elaborating further on what the plans of the department are in increasing health community-based programs, I'd like to inform this Honorable House that currently the Bougainville Healthy Community Program is now currently this year in a redesign phase for its scope of work and priorities beyond 2023. Currently, New Zealand Leprosy Mission, the main funders, are in close consultation with the department to align the priorities of the two organizations and increase health promotion advocacy and other health promoting interventions in the community. Mr. Speaker, as mentioned previously in this House, the human resource capacity within the Department of Health continues to be incapable of meeting the standard of health service provision that is equitable, safe, accessible, and adequate to the people it is mandated to serve, with only a mere 30% of its HR structure, field, and a large number of unattached and casuals embedded in the system who are either not on pay and are not accessing their rightful allowances. The Department of Health staff are overworked and resources overstretched, and therefore require DPMAS to address staff's outstanding payroll issues. There is also a critical need to open up recruitment for more staff, especially for medical officers for the Araba and Buin district hospitals. Currently, application papers for a husband and wife duo, a specialist obstetric and gynecologist doctor, and health extension officers have been submitted to DPMS and are waiting response as to when they might be mobilized to AROP to render their much-needed services. However, both hospitals are unable to attract medical officers to work there, as doctors' positions under the Bougainville DPMAS pay and salary grade structure are not designed to attract the required allowances enjoyed by all doctors throughout PNG, as spelled out under the National Doctors MOA 2014 to 2016. This is a worrying bottleneck for the ABG Department of Health, and there needs to be real progress made to address these payroll discrepancies so that positions for doctors and other cadres of health professionals are paid their cadre-specific allowances to be motivated to join the ABG Department of Health and provide much-needed health services to the Bougainville population. Mr. Speaker, in terms of plant infrastructure developments, work has been progressing well in this space. The department received last week Dr. John Menzies, the consultant engaged to do the clinical services plan of the new Level 5 Araba Referral Hospital. Besides conducting technical assessment for this scope of work, Dr. Menzies also had consultative meetings with several key stakeholders, which include members of this Parliament, the Central Parliamentary Committee, and myself, in which he expressed his professional assessment that the current Level 4 Araba District Hospital should be built up to a Level 5 referral hospital for the region as a start, and allow progressive introduction of Level 6 specialist services to be introduced in a phased manner following resourcing capabilities. This option given stems from the fact that currently there is an insufficient graduating number of health professionals produced from the UPNG School of Medicine and Health Sciences, as well as all other health training institutions, to adequately cover health service provision to all of PNG. And therefore, when opening this new hospital at the proposed Level 5, there would not be enough manpower to staff all sections of the facility, leaving a large section of the hospital unused. The consultant cited lessons learned from the newly built Level 4 Compian Hospital in Enga Province, which is currently being underutilized due to not enough staff to fill the facility, and therefore is currently a point of contention amongst its politicians and people. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to inform this House that the proposed Kunua District Hospital had its draft design being reviewed by the relevant stakeholders just last week for their input, and should be finalized by the end of this week to commence technical review by the ADB team by next week. Also, a funding of 30 million Australian dollars has been secured for Buin District Hospital through DFET, and is now currently going through design phase. The department, in a bid to address the concerns of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Health, has identified a number of health facilities across Bougainville that will be renovated and improved to meet the health standards. We plan to improve 2 existing health facilities, health centers, and open 5 aid posts in each region by the end of the year. The team in the department is already working with the Department of Technical Services to scope these facilities so we can commence the improvement works. Improvements to existing deteriorating health centers and aid posts will continue in the coming years as the ABG commits sufficient funding to the health sector, whilst key impact infrastructure projects are funded from donors and the PNG government. The ABG will take the bottom-up approach by improving the primary health care level. Mr. Speaker, at this present time, it is the intention of the current Acting Secretary to continue to uphold and progress the priorities and work that has already been set out for the department by the suspended Secretary for Health, as these are all the goals and priorities agreed by the Health Department as a collective. The department will continue to meet and address challenges as they come in the coming months of the year, and will continue to serve the people of Bougainville with commitment and integrity to the best of their ability. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I commend this statement to the House.
Honorable Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move that the House take note the statement by the Minister for Health and that the debate of the statement be referred to data date. Thank you.
All members question MLSM Parliament. You may take note law statement law minister na debate you may adjourn and go on a meeting. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, ministers, the President and Deputy Vice President, me like making announcement as well alongside long school fees. Me sabe ogata members staff lo here, you me got all beginning blow you me long all constituencies blow you me staff long all institutions. Na me start processing pennies about 28 all institutions were all beginning by all staff long all major institutions lo Papua New Guinea long all beginning blow you me process him all checks all working pennies all necessary claims long all this pay long all school fees blow you me by go inside long finance. This plan me plan use him to solve this 1.5 million Minister for Finance. Now out of the 1.5 million, me plan using 245,551 kina 47 toya. So me plan expect him now 1.5 million long come from Finance Minister long make him so by the start of next semester, the second semester, you may must make him so or the payment long all beginning you me long all the institutions must be settled. It's like 40% component where ABG and we must buy him. MIPLA must settle him no beginning, no second semester. Lily talks away me like because MISA all get members, you got all beginning and all the institutions throughout PNG. At the same time, me direct him department, make him so out of the school fees assistance forms, we need to now come up with a database, determining how many engineers, how many doctors, how many all accountants you may work like producing. So that we need to have a database making sure you while going towards independence, kind human resource you may must have along all quantity or number you may got inside long region you may. With these few remarks, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm moving motion now.
Honorable members, you got one motion, list up notice paper. No one member, I like moving, but me suggest him also. I think it would be good to do it while everyone is fresh. The next meeting, we had a long day. If I get that agreement from the mover and a second double motion, I think I may lose him also. Member Blow, Baba, are you agreed with my suggestion?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think there are two options. I can move the motion. I think MIPLA defer debate, or MIPLA can lose him, bring him come to the next house. But I think our next sitting. But I think it can be. I can move the motion. Maybe debate can come up behind Lodisla. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, moving motion and mini motion by reading Morgeta. I suggest that we leave it to the next meeting, and you can take this period between now and September meeting. Maybe you can lobby one time all members in terms of just exactly what the motion intends. I think it's quite clear. I think it's always tactful, very tactical long when everyone is fresh. You may bring him this kind of motion where it needs the support of everybody. So I think I'd go along with this option where we bring it to the next meeting in September, which is only 2 months away. Thank you. Honorable, the Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I now move that the House adjourn to a date that will be set by the Speaker in consultation with the President. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, before me adjourn in House, I want to thank the President, Vice President, all the ministers, all the members for what has been quite an involved meeting. We've set long hours. It's been challenging, but at the end of the day, I think whilst it's been challenging, it's been got plenty cooperation na melong Yumi Olgeta. And today was a very good example where at the end of the day, we've got one of our major bills, legislation, we go through with the agreement of members. We've also had a statement by the President, na Attorney General, na Minister Blong Independence Implementation, which occupied a long time, but I think it's been very clear to members that it's been an involvement plenty of law, members law contribute. So with that in mind, Minister, I set him this Tuesday next week, so this Bougainville Leaders Forum, which will also be an extension of bringing up some of the discussions which took place law display house. Me just reminding me that all members of the Bougainville Leaders Forum and also all current members of this house. So I'm just a quick reminder. With that, you miss up now, you ready to go. Oh, first of all, honorable members, the question is, you may adjourn in this house. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. Honorable members, I adjourn this Parliament to a date and time to be fixed by the Speaker in consultation with the President.